Hey everyone, welcome to Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And as you can see, folks, we have a tighter niche group of people here today. Well, first of all, I didn't expect him to be here. Everborn Saga.
Well, all right.
Holy cow, he's here. He's under the weather, but he has still shown up. And I think it's honestly because he could not stay away because, my
Boom,
God.
it is. I'm not under the weather. It's my kid's birthday today, and there's some stuff going on.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
actually driving.
You're
to
botting,
pick up-
sir. You're botting.
You're botting terrible, man.
Oh, he's driving. That's why.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll come back in when I'm clear. I
think you should stay off the show today. Don't come back. No.
You owe this man some knees after what was posted today.
You just don't want to see my brand new camera, sir.
This
You
is
don't
the
want
point.
my
That
visual-
man has gotten some upgrades, and he'll make us look like crap. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, we will get you back momentarily, Mr.
Yes, I'll come back,
Everborn.
but I'm listening in the background, so no slander, Asante.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right. Now okay. So why? First of all, this is going to be a great show. I'm going to try and get another one or two people in here. Crispy Bomb, unfortunately, had an incident that involved Jim Ryan coming over to his house and cutting his cable for his computer that he doesn't have a spare one for. So, Jim Ryan, you win again.
I knew it.
Wandering Dutch, I don't know where he is. Hopefully, he'll be here momentarily. If not, we will get him back next week. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm laughing inside. Actually, I'm laughing like the Joker inside because once again, the FTC has failed to deliver and they have lost once again. It is being reported by numerous outlets that the case against Meta has been now thrown out and Meta is going to be allowed to purchase this VR tech company. Folks, that is loss number 8 under the watchful eye of Lena Khan, head chair of the FTC. And I got news for you folks. We're going to be breaking down a lot of the information that has come out, especially from the EU, who has sent their objections checklist to Microsoft. From what we understand, Microsoft has made a statement about it. It should be made public in the next day or two of what they have concerns are. Microsoft is working both with the EU and the CMA to squash any concerns and offer up a multitude of concessions to get the deal done. We have heard from different sources that this loss to Meta in the courts potentially opens the door for them to come back to the table to make a deal with Microsoft because their case is already paper thin and they're going to lose once more. But we're going to talk about something. And again, we're going to do a lot of transitions here. I want to open up the show with introductions, but I want to open up the show with the episode 3 of The Last of Us.
Ooh.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, Mrs. Boomstick and I, we didn't watch it on Sunday. We watched it Monday. And I got to tell you, we watched it a second time. What an absolutely astounding storytelling moment in TV history that I've ever experienced. I got choked up. Mrs. Boom was crying with the tissues. Phenomenal. And I bring that up because we're going to segue into a very outspoken individual from Activision who finds her way to the interwebs and has been taking digs at the FTC, and she did it right after that episode. And then, of course, we're going to transition because everything is going to be segued because one thing works with the other. This is an amazing show because it literally is going to be like topic 1 slides into 2, slides into 3, end game. And then, of course, we're going to get into the FTC just looking like complete fools, just in complete embarrassment. But Hargeet, brother, welcome back. How are you feeling?
Good enough. I've been doing some work with a little around the clock. We've had a little issue at work, so I've been kind of working a lot. So, but I found time. I just finished like 10 minutes before 7.
Nice.
So I got to come in. But yeah, so outside of that, I've been playing a little bit of gaming. Did some more Grounded. Finished Wind Mirror, I think it was something like that. And I played a little bit of Hi-Fi Rush, so trying to get some gaming in, even though I'm a little busy. But
I mean, so real quick,
Yep.
we're not gonna make it a top. What are your initial thoughts on Hi-Fi Rush?
It's pretty so I think I said a bit about this before, but so essentially the gameplay is like that Metal Hellsinger game, except you're not required to be on beat, which is very cool. There's no penalty, which makes it more accessible and fun. But so far so good. Like the boss battles are pretty good, well constructed. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm one boss fight away from beating it. I'm gonna close up shop on it. I'm probably gonna jump back into it because I definitely want to mop up some achievements. And then I'm gonna get back into Dead Space, which is, man, that's a good game. That is a good game. Unlike Callisto Protocol, which is a great game.
You
on
take that
paper.
back.
No, I'm not taking it back because I'm at the last boss since the end of December.
I'll walk you through it. I finished it on the hardest difficulty.
Dude,
it's actually pretty easy if you got the right weapon. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk because F that guy and F their checkpoint system and F their save system and F their weapon changing system. There's a lot of Fs coming out.
Wow.
Good, gorgeous looking game. Really good story. Believable characters. But that's where after that it just falls off a cliff. Sorry, team. The choices weren't good. But enough of that shenanigans. What's going on? My very good brother, Hey Asante, how you feeling, bro?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
The news gods? Talk about the news gods.
Man, I'm sitting here, us corporate cogs, we're here, we got the webcam on, we're working, we're doing this. But I cannot step away from Twitter because every time I happen to just glance over, I see one big news bomb after another. It's just insane. Oh, and shout out to the man Everborn Saga who's listening right now. Your knees, sir, they're mine. I'm just saying,
11 point something, 11.1, 11.3 million copies of God of War Ragnarok. Oof.
At this point, you want to fight me? Come on now.
I just say he should just give you his knees like I did. I gave you my knees weeks ago. You can have them. You earned them.
I said the same thing. I said, look. Boom didn't argue. We just let it slide. This man wants to hold on. It's going to be fun, my friends. But
I think he's waiting for 17 and a half years from now for to be like, look, you see?
Yeah, when Sega eventually goes, oh, look, we now have 12 million copies in the 2030 or whatever.
I love it.
But no, it's a good day. We've been inundated with all this great news. I'm ready to talk about it. I don't think we can talk about most of it on this show, but it'll keep the podcasting interesting for the days to come. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, the mag.
Yes.
Pony. What is your
Pony Master 420? He's been on a hiatus because its news has been slow. However, the games have been coming in hot. But I got to tell you, I've been playing Hi-Fi Rush. First of all, good evening, everybody. Hello, everybody. I've been playing Hi-Fi Rush. When I first saw the thing, I said, "Oh, this looks like fun." And then I went into, I'm not a rhythm game guy because Metal Hellsinger didn't do anything for me. I tried it. I was, Dutch gave us the go ahead. He's like, "Give it a shot, whatever." I'm like, "All right, I'm going to do it because Dutch said so." And it just wasn't my thing. And I'm like, "This might be the same thing." And I'm like, "Nyeh." And then after about an hour, I'm like, "Okay, it's all right." But then something magical happened last night. You know how that happens every once in a while, folks, where all of a sudden, like 2.5 hours into a game, you're like, all right, you got your hooks in me. And it's got its hooks in me now. I'm now on that, the lava level, I think it is, like the third level, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I'm on there, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I actually was thinking about it today when I was at work, and I'm like, you know what? When you think about something at work, it means you like it. Normally, I'm thinking about beer and other things, but I was thinking about Hi-Fi, and I thought, you know what? Magnificent game. Now, that being said, I also got the Platinum on because I was playing it on PlayStation, not on Xbox. I was playing, funny you mentioned it, Callisto Protocol. I got the Platinum on it because the devs went back and they fixed all the problems that I had with the game that lowered my game from a 9 down to a 7 out of 10. And then I gave those 2 points back because everything I bitched about, guess what? they fixed. So they fixed like the collectible system. You don't have to go back and do it all in one run and all that kind of stuff. They fixed the checkpoint system, believe it or not. And then they also fixed, and then the some performance boosts, things like that. And anyway, the final boss, you know how you beat him? Get the machine gun and max it out to the top and literally just stand there and mow him down, run in a circle, mow him down. He couldn't even get one shot on me on the hardest difficulty. So anyway, it's not too hard. You just have to run in circles around like those barriers and stuff. But anyways, enough of that. Also, I know everybody makes fun of, and especially people in the chat make fun of my comically large tea mug. Today's tea mug is brought to you by Primetime Gaming. Is brought to you by, as people know, I have an affinity for North African culture. I have 2 North African sphinxes. This here, folks, is Ethiopian turmeric and anise star tea. It is an absolute must for anybody who likes tea.
Okay, listen, who says no to culture?
Nobody.
There is some question. Did I say that Sonic would double up the God of War? Yes, I did.
You said 2-1. Yes,
I said 2-1. I did because
there's a reason why he's sitting, ladies and gentlemen. He can't walk right now.
I'm an
you know
old
what?
man.
Boom. Sonic had a chance to beat out God of War because, as far as I'm concerned, I know it might sound controversial to some, but I think 11 million copies is actually pretty bad. I think that's pretty bad. I don't think that's good at all because I think the initial launch should have been 10 to 15 mil right off the rip because it was on the PS4 and the PS5. So you have 160 million units in the wild, maybe 170 actually. And you could only get less than 8% of those people buying what was considered to be, the cure for all that ails the humanity. Guys, that's not good. And then you went into the holiday season, the Christmas season. I don't want to turn it into a topic. I'm not going to, but you got to admit that this $70/$100+ price tag is not working. Have you heard a Sony sales numbers for games at all in 2022?
No.
Besides this right now, they never talked about Horizon. They never talked about Gran Turismo. They didn't talk about Callisto Protocol, except they said that it was disappointing.
Or The Last of Us, for that matter.
They didn't talk about Last of Us. They did not talk about God of War until right now. And then you find out that 7.5% of the user base bought it. That's like less than half of God of War 1. That's not good.
Yeah.
The Christmas season and the launch should have done it. And don't tell me it's not possible because Elden Ring doubled that in 1 week.
Yep. And to top it off, they actually bundled the bloody game with every PS5 that was being bought for the last half a year.
Very similar to Horizon.
Whatever, not half a year, but last quarter or so. Right. Yep. So So
all those people who got a PS5 for Christmas got one
couple of million
inflated.
It's a couple of million inflated. Yeah.
So Sonic the point is Sonic had a chance. If Sonic was a better game, they had the chance to take it. Because if a good Sonic game could have sold 20 mil right off the bat. Just saying.
I mean, listen, I'll be
Fallout
honest with
4,
you.
12 million copies, 24 hours.
Yes.
It's possible. It's possible.
There you go.
I will say this regarding Sonic. Look, I'm not. If you didn't like the game, that's great. I think it's the best Sonic game for me since Adventure.
Oh, hands down, it's one of the best 3D Sonic games ever made. Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
no question of that.
I honestly, if you the thought and the theory that went into this for this, and again, it was a fun bet. It wasn't like, oh my god, I'm so serious about this. The fun part of it is in the same year that Sonic in the movie theaters did so well at the beginning of 2022, and then closed out the year with Sonic on Netflix, which if you didn't see it, it's really, really great animation.
Yes, it is.
When you put those bookends together and you have a game that is launching on multiple platforms, Xbox, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, PC, Switch, it should, by all rights, have doubled up the numbers, but it didn't. So such is life.
And real quick, I will take my final victory lap and say, when we discussed this on this very air, what did I say? I said, if it's a good game.
Well, you know what? I agreed with you, Asante. I said it has to be a good game because the last 6 Sonic titles were not good. They were mediocre.
They were subpar, sure.
And we all said it. This has to knock. This has to break the mold. And I mean, it's a good Sonic game. I didn't finish it because it pissed me off. Then I'm just like, you know what? I'm done with it. I just can't. I have no interest in finishing this, and that's not a good thing.
No,
I mean, I can't be the only one.
No, I'm sure that there are a lot of people that didn't that had distaste for it at some point, at some level of the game. But look, folks, I gotta reel this in because we gotta talk briefly about The Last of Us episode 3. I mean, Mag immediately went to the DM and was like, "Boom, this is the greatest TV I've ever seen in my entire life." I thought the storytelling was phenomenal. I thought it was real. I thought it was emotional. Again, maybe the context isn't your thing, and if that's the case, I understand. But on this channel, we welcome everyone. Everyone is welcome through that front door. And this particular episode, I thought, was powerful.
And some people don't want spoilers, so we won't.
We won't spoil it.
No.
We're not spoiling
going to spoilers. Outside,
I hear people in the chat worried about spoilers. No spoilers.
Outside of what we have said, is it going to be the gist? No particulars on what exactly happened, because who wants to ruin this? I've watched it twice. I want to see it again, to be honest with you. Like, I really thought it was such powerful writing. It was out there in front of you. It was not sorry about saying what it had to say. And I mean, enough of what I'm thinking about it. Mag, let's talk about it, brother.
It was literally 4 minutes after the show ended, and I already DM'd it. I DM'd it to our chat, to our primetime gaming chat. I said, guys, this might be the best hour of television I've ever seen in my entire life. Probably one of the best produced and the best written. That's the other thing too. The power behind it, the performances, the music. My God, the music. If you want something to like tear your soul in half, even just the acting without saying a damn word. Just you could tell what they were feeling, everything else. And the thing that blew me away afterwards, when I went to bed, and I'm like, my God, this is what good writing is. Good writing is they took a dusty piece of paper that was in a garage and turned it into one of the most heart-wrenching hours in television history, right? Because it was just that piece of paper that you find and then you bring back to Bill. Remember that? Like in the game, when you're playing the game. That's all it was. So they turned like a side quest, a collectible, into possibly one of the best produced, best written, best acted, best musical score in television history. I argue that I still can't think of a better hour of television. You could bring up things like Breaking Bad as a possibility, but can you pinpoint one exact episode or the overall narrative of Breaking Bad? Right? It's difficult. I mean, there are always episodes that shine, right? You can say, okay, season 5, episode 3 was incredible, this and that, whatever. And I'm not going to go into details in case anybody hasn't seen that, or Yellowstone, or 1883, which also was an absolute classic.
Or The Sopranos, or The Wire. There's a lot of them.
Exactly.
This fits in there, is what you're saying.
This fits. I think that it elevates above all those, and in my personal opinion. And just this episode, I'm talking about this episode specifically. I'm not talking about the series overall, because in the series overall, you could still talk about the House of the Dragon, which I think was absolutely magnificent. I loved it more than Game of Thrones. Anyways, the thing is, clearly, this is trending in a positive direction, because as it stands, this is HBO's most increased watch show in history. In HBO's history, that week over week, the audience is growing by literally 200% per episode. It is staggering. It is basically like betting against James Cameron in the box office. You're going to lose that bet, because the guy, instead of trending down, the guy keeps trending up. This is what this show's doing too. And you know what? When you have episodes like this is how you do it. Now, the last thing I'm going to mention before I pass off the mic, because it's just a sort of a minor topic here, is that this is important for everybody else to watch. And I'm talking to Amazon. I am talking to Netflix. I am talking to Paramount Plus, which, by the way, I just wanted to let you guys know. I know you guys know because I mentioned it earlier, and if anybody else doesn't know about it, is that right now Skyrim is in a bidding war with Netflix and Paramount Plus. Okay? That is a fact. That is happening as we speak.
Okay.
The writers have to look at this show and say, this is the new bar. This is the bar we have to set, because look at Halo and then look at this. Halo wasn't bad, but as sure as hell is not this. This is a whole different level of amazing. And the thing is, people will talk about this show for years to come. Ain't nobody talking about that Halo show. They watched it, they're like, all right, it was all right, and whatever else, right?
Master Cheeks became a meme. Don't hate on
Yeah,
Master
exactly.
Cheeks,
It became a meme. That's not a good thing. When something becomes a meme, that's not the way to do it. So they have to look at this. I think it's Amazon is going to be doing God of War, right?
Yes.
They have to look at these writers and go, Jesus, look what these guys are doing over here. This is the bar. And Amazon can afford it, okay? They can afford, if they could spend $500 million on the Rings of Power, they could spend money on God of War, which is another big IP for Sony. And got to give it to Sony, eh? Sony has what Nintendo has, that seal of approval, where they won't release crap. They're going to be like, the Sony executives are going to be like, listen, you don't release garbage. I bet you any money that what's-his-face there from Sony Santa Monica, he's going to be sitting right next to the director, just like Druckmann's got his dirty little fingers all over Last of Us right now. Right?
Yeah.
So there's that. Then you've got the Tomb Raider show. Okay. Then you've got the Skyrim show. Then you've got the Fallout show. These all have to look at this now as the new bar going forward for video game adaptations, that it's no longer a joke and something to be laughed at and laughed off, as something that to be taken seriously as high art.
Listen, what else could you say? I love the breakdown. KS, let's get to you, brother. You had a lot of things to say in the DM as well.
Yeah, I definitely did. And shout out to Mooch. Mooch had me on his show. Myself and the Mag he's doing a review show. So myself and the Mag were on there on episode 1.
Nice.
Yeah, and he invited me last minute on episode 3. So I went out there and I shared my thoughts there as well. I think this is like, I second all of your like hyperbole, if you will, and all your amazing platitudes that you throw at this episode specifically, because I think it is damn near perfect filmmaking. It is they and as a person who knows the source material as well as I do, right? Because all of us gamers, those who've seen it and those who haven't, have a very specific the show, I mean, if you're a gamer, you obviously play the game, but you have a specific place that you come to with this game, because you know what happens. You know how they get there. You know what happens. You know how they get their battery and move on and all that gaming stuff. You know that stuff. But what they do here is additive, but it's new for even us, right?
Yes.
So it kind of gives
a lot of between
you
the lines things.
Yes. A lot of that stuff was left to the imagination in the game, and now they kind of move the scenes around a little bit, right? Certain time frames were played with a little bit, things like that, and ultimately, I think it ended up making it even better than the source material. Like, and this is not the first time they've done it. Every time they do something a little different than what you are expecting, it ends up being additive instead of detrimental to it. I'm really, really, really impressed by what they've been able to pull off. To your point, guys, what is his name? Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman. If they are not getting Emmys for this performance, it is a Travis Shamocracy.
Yeah,
they will. They have to.
There should be pitchforks on the streets. They need to win, both of them. It was amazing, specifically Nick Offerman. Like wow. Just like people were talking about how some people said in early episodes they weren't sure about how they felt about Tess. I thought Tess was a badass. Oh my God. Yeah. And I think Bill is what? That man was badass in everything. Amazing. And they were still able to show his emotions and able to show his love and able to show. It was absolutely fantastic. Again, not a big topic, as Mag said, so we'll move forward. But I will say 2 things before I move on the mic. One, Mag, about the seal of approval from Sony. Technically, they did release Powers, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, come on. Come on. Nobody bats 1,000 in baseball.
I'm just giving you crap because I remember I was excited for Powers. I'm like, what is this? Come on. Anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, can I ask a quick question, by the way, sure. as I quickly change the topic so that I'm not proven wrong? These little side stories, those little vignettes at the beginning of the first 2 episodes, stuff like that. You know what I'm seeing? Something that's really interesting is that when they try to stretch this out, because we're not going to go down that Game of Thrones route where they're going to continue a story and then part 3 of the game comes out and it goes in a different direction and people are going to be confused. I think what a good idea is to expand the world. And what they're going to do is have different seasons like in 1883 and it'll take place in China. or it might take place in
That'd be
India
great.
or
Yeah.
Africa or the UK or
Yeah.
Australia or whatever, right? And like, and then they could do different like stories of The Last of Us in different parts of the world.
Same universe, different characters that they can then play with themselves. Yeah,
Right.
That sounds like a perfect idea. Yeah,
And like you see those vignettes there, and then you see that the reason why I'm saying is because the potential is there because of what they just did with Bill and Frank. The potential is there to create high drama without Joel and Ellie.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's what I'm getting at.
And of
have
course
the
they have
potential and the talent.
Druckmann. They have Druckmann, so when you start playing that game, you can still play it well because he still speaks that game, that Last of Us language that translates from game to TV show, which we've seen so well. The last point I'll make before I pass off the mic is, to your point, Mag, about everybody being excited. I think that should count doubly for gamers because the days of Powers, the days of Prince of Persia, the days of even OG X-Men, which I will still stand on my square and I say I enjoyed. Those days are long behind us, right?
Yeah.
If
I
they
hope so
take
anyway.
such care and reverence with any other source material, bro, we are in heaven. This is amazing what's happening right now. So I'm very excited for it.
This again, all I can say in regards to Halo, right now it's not in the greatest places. It's not going to be great for many, many years to come. The TV show took everyone off. New director, new producers, new content, people that are going to force the envelope on it. It should be like the game. Unfortunately, right now the game isn't like the game. Say what you want. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it. But listen, Hargeet, before we move on to the spiciness of tonight's show and who said what to who and how they said it, involving specifically The Last of Us, did you get a chance to watch the episode?
I have not watched TV for like years now. And
Okay.
I have no interest in TV for some reason. I used to watch stuff. I just since the pandemic started, I just have totally.
You better get your focus back, Hargeet, okay? Because there's some great stuff out there.
Movies, no TV.
I'm getting upset.
Listen,
don't care anymore.
He's working hard. He's playing games. He plays
exactly.
games. You
exactly.
cannot argue.
I'd rather interact than just sit there and watch something. I'd rather play Last of Us than watch Last of Us.
All right, listen,
It's just the way it is.
I cannot argue that.
A valid opinion, yeah.
I do want to catch up on Super Chats. We do have a couple that popped in here. And then we're going to get into what Lulu Cheng says. Now, if that name rings a bell, well, it should, because let me tell you who Lulu is. She is the EVP Corporate Affairs and CCO of Activision Blizzard. And she has been giving it publicly to the FTC. And these are shots across the bow. And I'm talking like real close, like sniper shots that could potentially knock some clothes off of you. And I'm going to get to her what she said in a second. And again, this FTC thing, I got to tell you, as a tax-paying American citizen, all I can say is the monies that are being wasted on frivolous stupidity from the FTC is just not to be believed. They think, and this is where we have a problem, folks, they think their ideology is so correct that they in their thought process that they are able to rewrite law based on stupid thoughts on how the business should run, and it's wrong. I don't know if this is a collective knuckleheads, a group of people that just don't know what 1 and 1 is, and they think it's 4 or 3 instead of 2. But their loss to Meta again is more public smearing across the FTC's face. And the way it was brought up last week, and again, we didn't really cover it because it didn't have a lot of context. It now does. It was brought to our attention by numerous outlets that Lina Khan, happened to be on the phone with the CMA and the EU Commission, and they, I'm assuming, explained to her that we're going to hear Microsoft out. We're going to potentially sit down and get concessions to better suit the deal. And this is why we all questioned, why did the lawsuit come out of nowhere? Why was it so full of so many holes? Is because she got off the phone and she rushed this lawsuit through, thinking that she was going to potentially corner the CMA and the EU to following what she wanted to do. And that is not what is going to happen. She is going to lose again. And I will say this, and someone said this earlier. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Everborn. It might have been Keosante. I'll say it for myself. If she loses to Microsoft, she will not have a job by the end of 2023. And anyone that would back her to keep her position would have to get their head checked, because she is running the FTC loosey-goosey and shooting from the hip. And that's not what you want someone doing that's using your taxpayer dollars to fund an ideology that ultimately is wrong. But we catch up on the super chats, and then of course we will get to what Lulu had to say. Drawn TJ drops the very first super chat of the day of $2 and says, "Hey guys, I will listen on demand." Well, thank you so much for that, brother. Alvin drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Hey, Boom and panel, I don't think it's a topic, but that new Atomic Heart gameplay trailer is on another level. Holy Toledo." Well, guess what, dude? We're going to be talking about that. And I mean, we, as in two people. Tomorrow I'm sitting down with Retri from Game Pass _daily. And we're going to be talking about not only Atomic Heart, but we're going to be talking specifically about the Game Pass effect and how what has been put down in front of us with Hi-Fi Rush is going to be something that sets the bar for games like Atomic Heart, games like Stalker 2, games like Benedict Fox, and all of these incredible games that are coming out, even if they're multi-plat, some of them, because they're in Game Pass. The fact that they're going to get thousands upon thousands of additional downloads and purchases because they're in a service. Let me tell you something. Hi-Fi Rush proved a lot of naysayers wrong about Game Pass being a never was. Game Pass hindering the developer, hindering the publisher. This was a shadow drop. And again, this is not, I'm not saying it for laughs. I'm not saying it to do digs at the Sony, but I have to say it for context. We know for a fact, thanks to Benji Sales, that Hi-Fi Rush sold more copies and made more money, more revenue than Forspoken, which was double the effing price. That should be the conversation that we're having. That's the Game Pass effect. And we're going to have that conversation tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tune in, Alvin, and thanks again for the super chat. Scott Gamer Dude, who's been a channel member for 2 months, drops a $5 super chat and says, "Hey, Mag, you ever consider voice actor work? Every time you describe something, my hair stands up."
Well,
and have not decided if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's
LOL.
a damn fine thing. What are you talking about? Yeah, no, I do voice work right here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There you can find me.
That is good stuff. And we have a new channel member, Jericho, and I wonder if it's a Jericho from the WWE or, now he's I was going to say ECW, but my God, that's how old I am.
And
ECW.
he didn't even only join. He joined, and then he gifted 5 memberships.
Hey,
Jericho, thank you,
there
brother.
you go.
That's
the walls of Jericho. I bring it.
That's very kind of you, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity. And, of course, thank you for becoming a channel member. Listen, let's get these, and I'm going to go first to Hargeet on here. Okay, so Lulu Cheng, she says this to the FTC. "Hey, FTC," and she asks them, "Did you catch last night's episode of The Last of Us? It was incredible. No wonder the show is breaking records. It's a true blockbuster watched by tens of millions. If you haven't already, you should check it out. Maybe you may be particularly interested in the fact that The Last of Us is produced by Sony Pictures Television and PlayStation Productions. It's based on a best-selling video game developed by a Sony-owned studio and published by Sony as a PlayStation exclusive. Why does that matter? Well, the FTC has opposed the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal on the grounds that Microsoft could suppress competition from rival consoles by leveraging Activision games. It sounds like there's some worry that Sony's position as market leader could be jeopardized by this deal. But she doesn't just end there, Hargeet. She continues. And this is like the faucet handle has broken off. Okay. But there's no cause for concern, she says. Sony has an unrivaled war chest of IP, not just in gaming, but in TV, movies, and in music, which can be developed into games or can market existing games. Case in point, the TV show of The Last of Us is already generating revenue interest in that game, and she's right because it was reported by Benji Sales and several others that after the first episode of The Last of Us, sales for the game were up 238%. So let me continue what she also had
The Witcher
to say.
effect, if you will.
The Witcher
Continue.
effect.
Yes.
Sony's talent and IP across gaming, TV, and movies and music are formidable and truly impressive. It's no wonder they continue to dominate as market leader for consoles. In gaming, Sony is the first of us, and they will be just fine without FTC's protection.
Man.
Holy shitballs.
She on fire or
mean,
what?
Wow. And this is a CCO. CCO talking like this, and it's all factual. Hargeet, I don't know if this is a shot across the bow or a grenade launcher across the bow, but it is, first of all, it's funny. It's funny because it's coming from her. It's even funnier because all of everything that she said is true. And when you look at what the FTC has done to embarrass themselves in cases before, and I'm looking at you, FTC, you should be ashamed of yourself. They're embarrassing themselves right now with the Microsoft case, which they're going to lose. What are your thoughts on this, dude?
Well, what do I have to say to her? Well done. Love the energy. Why not, right? Microsoft can't do this because they play very well politically. They're not going to do anything like this, right? But Activision, what do they care? They're getting bought, so why not? Bring the heat. Why not? I love it. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's all true. Is it going to work? You know, the sad part of that is there are human beings on the other side, and they could take this very antagonistically and say, well, screw you guys, right? Ultimately, though, it may not be an issue because the FTC is going to go to court. And just like with Meta, look, I said the same thing when she brought this suit. You know, like, this is a nothing burger. It's going to get tossed the second it goes to court. And, you know, this one's a bigger, literally it's $70 billion, right? But in the case of what they're doing, there's just no way to see that this as a market consolidation that would be bad for, like, they'd have 4% of the mobile market. Whoopity frickin' do. They'd maybe get 10, 11% of the video game console market. Whoopity frickin', I mean, seriously, like the stupidity of this is just alarmingly dumb, right? If they were hitting 60%, hitting 40, 50%, okay, you got me. I got you. There's something wrong here. It's not even close. It's not even close. By their own definition, they've made Sony PlayStation into a monopoly with 70% market share, and they're protecting the 30%. Like, dude, your answer should be, how do we help you fight the monopoly? That's what they should be looking at, right? Not how do you protect the monopoly. And yet they keep talking to him. EU's talking to him. CMA's talking to him. FTC's talking to him. It's like, aren't you are you telling them, hey, we're going to come after you? Because if you're not doing that, you're just not doing your job, right? But that's what they're just going after Microsoft because it's big and it's flashy, right? They could have gone after Sony this whole time. It's
funny. It's funny you make mention of that, Hargeet, because I understand. Listen, folks, I only have 52 billion in my bank account. Sorry, I can't really understand 70 billion, but I understand 52, right?
Well, all right.
So here's the thing. It is a big deal, and every T needs to be crossed, every I needs to be dotted, every page needs to be turned over multiple times and read front to back, back to front. That is a fact. Let's not be silly about this. It is the biggest deal in tech history. It must be scrutinized. Microsoft themselves said that. But what's interesting, to your point, Hargeet, is Sony made a very large investment in Bungie for $3.6 billion.
Right? True.
And it went through as quick as I can tie my size 13 and a half shoes, which it takes a while because I have big freaking feet. So I'm just saying that it really, when people go out and say the FTC, the CMA, the EU Commission, they're all protecting Sony. I know that there's a lot that there's some jokingness to it, but the FTC clearly seems to be protecting the lead that Sony has. Now, what's interesting, Hargeet, and I do want to get your opinion on this, is last week we learned on Wednesday that Jim Ryan had flown once again out to Brussels to push the envelope. And I had asked this to Kay Asante. I think this morning I asked him that. I said, you know what's interesting is he did that initially. He flew here, there, and everywhere, right? And to give his complaints about how this deal was going to be bad, not for the industry, but for Sony. It's a fact, right? He put pen to paper and he wrote his doctrine about how this was bad for the market, bad for everyone. But isn't it a little suspicious that maybe he got word that the EU Commission and the CMA were like, yeah, listen, yeah, we have concerns. Microsoft is going to meet the concerns. We're going to come together on this. The deal's going to go through. Why would he fly out again if that wasn't the case?
Yeah, it's an interesting question as to what they were looking for. Maybe it's to finalize the concessions that they would be looking for, right? To say, would these be good enough? What do you think? And why not the other ones then? There was some concern from NVIDIA. There was some concern from Google. Why wouldn't they have reached out to them? That's an interesting thing, right? But there seems to be some weird tie to Sony being the main victim of this. Let's also put this in different perspective, right? So looking at ABK, the majority of this purchase really was intended for mobile and PC, right? So, and if you look at their portfolio, let's say about 60% of it is actually that. It's not console, right? So 40% say is console. That makes it maybe $25-ish billion. That cuts it down to a much more reasonable level. And maybe that's how they should look at it, right? But from Sony's perspective, that $25 billion is one game that they don't want Microsoft to control. They want to control it, right? And that's been the big thing, right? So, we had Frank Shaw talk about, the visit of Sony, let's just assume it's Jim, but Sony to the European regulators and saying that, they're sort of lying, but let's just say that he was saying it more nuanced, that they're saying we're not doing something that we actually are doing. We're offering all the concessions they want, right? So they want parity. We've been offering, we're going to give you all the parity. The one thing they're not offering in parity is Game Pass. And that even there, they're willing to put it into their subscription service, but the parity to them is you can't put it in Game Pass. And the reason is, of course, if Call of Duty is in Game Pass, the question of whether subscription services work is over. It's done. 100%. It's done. Yes. You cannot tell me the game that Sony calls the quintessential game, if it's in Game Pass, quality, everything, it's there. Sorry, it's over. A subscription service works, right? And if that's the case, guess what Sony has to do? Eat into their profits and give back to the customer and deal with it. They have to give their games in PlayStation Plus Premium. That's just the way it is, right? They have to compete. They don't want to, but they want to make their billions in profit. That's fine, but this is what open markets do, right? A competitor comes in, I'm hungry, I want your market share, I'm going to give a better value, right? I'm going to give the consumer a better value. And that's what they're doing, right? And they're pushing Sony, and Sony's like, I don't want it, right? And they want the government to force the system to not do that. Like that just, it makes no sense, right? If this deal were blocked, where does that leave Game Pass, right? Because Game Pass exists to give you content, right? That's the intent.
Well,
of that
you know what it is? Paramount is value, though. And that's the difference here. Sony currently charges $3 more for a service that, folks, it's comparable. Now I understand there's a lot of
good stuff in there.
There's a lot of good stuff. Look, I'll put it to this way, and I've said this before. I pay for it. I literally just paid for the whole year. Because I was like, you know what? At this point, Sony is going to offer some indie game in their day and date that I'm going to want to buy, and it's probably going to cost a quarter. That's why I paid the $33 for Stray. And like I said, is Stray Game of the Year? No, but I really, really enjoyed that game. Right. The difference is the day and date. Right. Mm-hmm. Sony. Now, I will say this: if you are new to Sony, you're just, let's say you were under a rock, or you just didn't play games, or you were an Xbox fan or a Nintendo fan, you're like, I got to get in on the Sony thing, and you jumped into their service, the value is through the roof because they have some of the greatest first-party games in there. You got God of War, you got Last of Us, the remake, not the new one.
I don't mean to disturb, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do want to add a small caveat, as the news gods have provided a lot today.
Okay, here we go.
Including the story of PlayStation's Plus collection. RIP. Just saying. It's done.
Oh, what do you mean?
Oh, you didn't hear that? Yeah,
you didn't hear that?
In April, it's gone.
May.
Oh, is it May? Sorry, May. Yeah, May. It's gone.
I got an email. I got an official email from PlayStation and everything. If you have the PlayStation, if you now have access to the PlayStation Plus collection, those 20 games, you better redeem them all immediately, because when they're gone, and you're not getting them back.
So what they're saying is this:
wow,
you can download the games now if you have the service. If you continue to pay for the service, you will have you will have access to them continuously. But if you stop, you lose access to all of them.
Any new subscribers after it's gone don't get it.
Don't get it.
So the idea of PlayStation Plus collection, RIP.
That's right. Sorry, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. I gotta listen, folks. You know me for years. I've never been bamboozled live on the air. Well, this is what a bamboozled boomstick looks like.
I was telling Boom, the news gods, they were just throwing it at us today.
That happened just before we went live. I think like an hour or two before we went live.
About 2 hours before. Yeah.
I didn't check my email, and that wow.
Oh, social media is shredding them right now. So.
Well, there's that, folks. You heard it live on the air. Sony is removing the PlayStation Plus collection from their service.
That's better be followed up with, we're throwing all of our old games into PS Plus Ultimate or something like that, whatever their premium level is. That is such an easy thing to do to get people onto your service. Just say everything 2 years and older, it's just there. You can subscribe to our service and you'll have it, right? They don't even guarantee that, which is it's mind-boggling. But this is exactly the thing they're looking for with parity, is they just don't want Game Pass to have Call of Duty.
You know what's when you say that, Hargeet, listen, folks, I don't get paid by Microsoft to be a rah-rah guy. It's my favorite band. I'm sorry. I like that better than everything else. Now, I love, if I were to give you a live on the air order, it's Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation third. And PlayStation is used exclusively for first-party games, which are phenomenal. You can't argue that. That's just how I go. But it is pretty crazy when you see what Jim Ryan and Sony has done to the industry in making people, they moved ahead of the snake where they wanted to go. And if you don't,
they do.
You're finished, right? We've seen the backlash or the results of you went against Sony, now you're blackballed. Now you're not getting copies. Now your website doesn't exist to us. Well, it's pretty crazy that they don't want Call of Duty in Game Pass for 2025, because next year it's not. There's the last year of this year. We're just getting DLC. They still have the marketing. Next year they have the marketing, whatever the new game is going to be. But 2025 is going to be when Call of Duty, if the deal goes through, is going to be marketed by Microsoft, put on every box, and sold and put in the Xbox Game Pass. Hargeet, how many games have been walled off by Sony? And I'm not just talking about Final Fantasy 16 or 7. I'm talking about this goes on for second, for third party, for indies, and they have done the walled garden thing. Yeah. It is crazy that they actually have the audacity to say, okay, you're doing the $70 billion investment, but you can't have this in your service because it's going to hurt us.
Well,
Wow.
it's not going to hurt us. It's going to force us to compete. Hurt is an interesting term. Hurt would be that they can't make the market, right? No, they will still stay leader because they are what they are.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's just they won't have like 2 billion in profit. It'll only be 1 billion. Oh, poor Sony. Whatever will you do, right? I mean, like, and seriously, like if you think about if that subscription had their games day and date, how many of their subscribers would they convert over? Like, how much of an uplift is it versus saying I'm going to pay $70 for God of War or the next thing that comes out?
Let me add a little meat to the bones for you there, Hargi, about how many people would switch over. I was talking to Boom about this before the show, and one thing that slid past people
this is a pretty interesting thing. Listen to this.
Remember back and shout out to Post Up. He's been in online, really, really putting it out there, the gospel as it were. Check out his channel. He has a lot of great stuff. Yeah. He was doing a podcast a few days ago, and basically, he knows people. He's been talking to people. Remember when they said they actually spoke to people in the EU about whether they like this deal or not, and how only 75% were like, yeah, we love it, and the others didn't. You heard that news, right?
Yes.
What they didn't elaborate on is that 75%, the people who were spoken to, who were reviewed, those were exclusively Sony users in the EU who are hardcore COD fans. So this wasn't just everybody. It wasn't just
crazy.
Gamers.
Yeah,
this was specifically people who they've proven have the hours in. Only hardcore Sony COD fans were asked their opinion. And of that 75% of hardcore Sony COD fans, 70% of the people that asked, 70% said, sure, no big deal. Right? And then obviously the 30% would be like, oh, maybe they have a big deal. Of that 30% that had a deal with it, only 1% of that 30 would say that, yeah, we're switching to Xbox if Call of Duty changes hands exclusively, which it's not even gonna, right? Because it's going to be available for everybody. Yeah. But if it was exclusive, the EU found out that only 1% of the 30% of hardcore Sony fans, Sony COD fans, who played exclusively on that console, only 1% would switch over. So that is exactly the point right there. That's why all this back and forth people are going about, we're like, they're just putting on a good show. It's going exactly the way we think it's going. I mean, after you hear that, come on now. But please continue. I didn't mean to derail you.
Yeah, no. It's a great point. And that's exactly the thing that's going to happen, right? Ultimately, Sony is still a market leader because they have great content and they have a name brand that is like it's worldwide recognized. It's going to take Microsoft a lot to bring that to themselves. They don't have it right now, right? Nintendo does have a worldwide name, but they also have this like, they're a child focused console like thing. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Maybe they need to start. There's a whole other topic with Nintendo, right? We don't have to get into that. But as far as this issue of Call of Duty, this whole purchase, it's not going to be the biggest deal for them. But if they suddenly decide to compete, put their games in there. They're 50 million, 48, whatever it is, million subscribers to the lower tier PS Plus. I can see most of them switching over. They could get 40 million converted over if they put their games day and date. And it would increase. Because why not, right? Why wouldn't you at that point? You're going to get all their games. They could have 70 million. That, like, easily, right? Their market base is so big. Think of how many Microsoft has, like 50 million, consoles out there, right? And then they've sold however many 20 million of the new ones, but a lot of those are conversions as well, right? And with that, they have 30 million subscribers. That's a huge percent of their market.
Here's something.
Sony. If they got that amount, just 50, 60%, 70% of 120 million consoles, how much money are they raking in? It's so much money. I don't know why they don't see it. It's very obvious. The model's working with no freaking AAA exclusives last year. Yeah. Microsoft increased their numbers. Right? What do they think? Like, how? Obviously it's working. Obviously it's working, right? And but this is what they did. Like Jim, I think Jim is just not the right person at this time for Sony because he's too number focused on what he wants for extreme financial success instead of thinking gaming and where it's moving. And is this the right path? Right. I don't know, whatever. Maybe I'm just thinking too much about it, but I think it's really Jim Ryan. That's the big headache here. but whatever.
Well, I have a couple of numbers here before I bring in Asante and Mag on this. Right now, PlayStation is number 7 in world recognized brand ship. PlayStation. PlayStation's number
Not
7.
Sony, just PlayStation.
Not Sony.
Yeah,
SIE,
exactly.
It's PlayStation. Do you know where Xbox is?
I had to guess,
87.
Wow.
87th. Think about that for a second. So even if they get Activision Blizzard King, it's going to be years before you start to see a seismic shift.
Yeah.
Now, will they give Sony a run for their money? Oh, sure. They absolutely will. The same way Nintendo gives Sony a run for their money. But again, let's get into what Kay Asante had said about what Lulu Cheng said. This is spicy, dude. Like, this is like, I couldn't believe. Like, I read it live on the air for everyone, and it didn't really hit me until I said it live on the air, because I read it quietly, and then I heard myself through the headphones, and I said, "Holy shit! Like, this is shocking." But she was right on every paragraph that she wrote.
Oh, I mean, it's not even about whether she was right or not, because she knows what she's dealing with. She's on the internet, and she's a public figure who's reputable and has something to lose. If you have all those things against you and you say something that can easily be disproven, you're done. So there's no way and she's, a lawyer. Like, there's no way you can even like try to challenge what she's saying if you were a normal pleb like the rest of us. But what I really appreciate is she is using the language of the streets, baby. She's using the Twitter language. She is skewering you just the same way you skewer others, and I am here for it. I love it, love it, love it. Right? She drops a bunch of the memes. She drops a bunch of the slander left and right, and then bookends that with actual facts that cannot be denied. Right? They cannot be denied. And we all knew this, right? As it's come closer and closer to fruition, we're seeing all the dirt being laid out and all the people that are talking about. Oh, yes. And yes, real quick, I will speak to you, a quick shout out. Boom, if you haven't seen it yet, maybe Special Nick is in the chat. You might want to send him an invite. Maybe he might jump in and join us. Why not?
I did not see that. Let's
if you're interested, jump in there. Come on, send him that invite.
Oh
yeah, yes, yeah. I was pinging with him a little bit, but no. In general, I think this is absolutely amazing, and this is not the first time, right? You've seen them do good cop, bad cop, exactly to what Hargeet was saying. Like, Microsoft is not allowed to speak this way. They just can't, right? People have always wanted Microsoft to be this brash, bold. Take a page out of Sony's book. They can't do that. They just are not able to do that because they are very PR focused. They can't stand. They are the evil empire by perception, right? So they cannot make any moves that let people think, oh, they were right? So they always have to be magnanimous. They always have to be kumbaya, even though you hear reports of what do you call it? Phil Spencer as upset by certain situations as the rest of us in public spaces. He must be very approachable and amenable, right? So in order to get your point across, you've got to empower someone else to be your bad cop. Oh, they chose the best bad cop. It's amazing. It's amazing. Will it move the needle, as Hargeet was saying? Hey, we don't know, right? We don't know where this will go. And it could be antagonizing. Exactly. The only thing that makes me feel a little good about the situation is, because of where the FTC started, right? The EU and CMA have really leaned on process and the rule of law, yes, and like what it means for their function, rather than what they're trying to peddle, because they've seen the FTC go too far too quick, right? So literally, I would say, believe it or not, I would say what Lina Khan did actually helped Microsoft more than hurt it. Because had she not done that and been a bit more strategic and a bit more, we'll hear you out before we come out and say big tech bad, maybe all the others would have followed suit the same way. But because she came out and was as ridiculous and as overt with her lackluster arguments as she was, it's forcing the EU and the CMA to literally, listen to the people. Like those 75% of hardcore PlayStation fans who go, we don't care if you sell, if this thing goes through. right? And under normal circumstances, like in the States, you can think that since there's so much political grandstanding and this and that people's feelings on the matter rather than the law. But I can't say that wholeheartedly in the EU and the UK. So,
not to your point, that's going to work out here too. That's why when it went to court, the courts are going to go by law. They're not going to go by emotions. What does the law say? Is it going to? And that's why Meta is going to be able to buy with it.
And this is exactly why Lena Khan doesn't take it to court right away. That's why she plays the game of slow walk, because she knows that the decision won't be in her favor. So she has to slow walk the process, not because she's waiting for it to be slow walk till later, but eventually they'll hit that bar where whether they're right or they're wrong, you've missed your window, right? So it's like, this is what she does. She plays political football because she doesn't have facts on her side, right? And because she did it so overtly, now it's nothing but in the EU and the CMA's camp to literally focus on what is rule of law, because that's all you have if you're part of this organization. Ooh.
Yep. Yeah. Now we're back. Yeah. Here we go.
Welcome, sir.
All right. Hey, Nick.
I defer the rest of my time to Special Nick. Let's go.
Listen, before we bring in the mag
here right now.
First of all, Special Nick,
please welcome
us, brother. First of all, have you played any other game than the N64 version of GoldenEye since it released? That's what I want to know.
Yes, I have been. I've been playing Hi-Fi Rush as well, which is an amazing game.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been playing Dead Space, so
Dead Space
as I said on our show,
dude. Oh my God,
so Hargeet wasn't nice enough to get me Dead Space, and Tom Henderson.
That did happen. Look good on you.
Tom Henderson wasn't nice enough to buy me Dead Space, but there was someone who did give me a copy of Dead Space. So I shouted them out on our show. Rayoid84. He gave us a copy. He gave me a copy of Dead Space. I've been playing Dead Space.
That's pretty dope. Yeah.
But yes, I have also been playing a lot of GoldenEye.
Well,
Not as much as Rand and Gaz, but I've still been playing plenty of GoldenEye.
I love how you throw them under the bus. That's good stuff. Listen,
they throw him under the bus whenever they can, so why not?
They do. They absolutely do. They're vicious. They're vicious people.
How are you all, gentlemen? Thanks for having me.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you, brother. We're going to get to you in a second because as Santa had said, the news gods have been kind to podcasters. There's a lot to get into. The FTC has egg all over their face again. I mean, they just lost to Meta, and I have why. Like, I didn't know exactly what was going on with Meta. I do have a story that I pulled from the New York Times in front of me right now, but I do want to get to the mag. But mag, before I do. Been a lot of super chats. I do have to catch up with all of them. First of all, Gerald Mack, who's been a channel member for 15 months. Wow, dude. Thank you. He says, Jim, lying, frying, trying to stop Xbox from buying Ryan is still at the got me crying, laughing, him so silly. Dude, that is the greatest one.
Poetry, ladies and gentlemen. Poetry.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we have... Moneybag 97. He drops several super chats. The first one of $5. He says, if Microsoft remakes World at War with exclusive content, 70% of players will switch. Yeah, World at War was phenomenal.
What?
I quite enjoyed
World
that
at
game.
War.
I kind of really enjoyed that. Plus,
now are we talking the multiplayer only or the campaign?
I like the campaign, dude. Like, I really enjoyed the campaign. I don't know. Maybe it's just
what it is. I think.
Imagine. Go ahead. Sorry, Nick.
No.
I think my problem with World at War was I played it on veteran.
Okay.
Yeah, that's hard.
And it's by far the worst veteran run COD because of the grenade.
It's very
spam.
cheap. It's very cheap.
Oh, cheap doesn't even begin to describe it. It's like if you hide behind cover for too long, that meme you've seen where there's like 74 grenade icons, that's not an exaggeration. That's how the game is. And then if you poke your head out,
it's gone.
Guys with pistols can shoot you from 3 kilometers away. So it's just
or from palm trees.
Worst.
Yeah. Or from palm trees.
You know what they say, Nick? Get good.
Yeah.
I
Get
don't
good.
know how I beat
PUD.
it. I still don't know how I beat it. I actually beat it on veteran, and I still don't know how.
I'm pretty
It's
sure I've
just-
played all of them on veteran, and I haven't played COD for the last few years though. So I think the last one was Modern Warfare.
Hargeet, what's
1.
going on with you right now? No COD, no TV. This is getting very disappointing.
Well, one, they didn't have a campaign. I only played the campaign, and then the last one was kind of,
What are
right?
you talking about? Modern Warfare 2?
No, Vanguard.
Oh,
yeah,
Vanguard.
Vanguard was terrible.
And then Modern
Terrible.
Warfare 2, to be fair, I was hoping it's going to come into Game Pass soon. So I didn't buy it. I'm like, it's coming to
No.
Game Pass. I'll just
Nah,
wait.
it'll be a while.
I don't.
It'll be
Yeah,
a
no,
while.
don't call it a
Based
legacy
on where
title.
we are, it'll be a while.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
so
Yeah.
but yeah, that's why I didn't get that one. But yeah.
Well, listen,
Modern Warfare 2 is
consider
amazing.
this: like, what if they took like the Master Chief Collection treatment for some of the?
Oh,
old
I'd
COD?
love that. That'd be phenomenal.
Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
That would be phenomenal. Yes, I like
Right?
do what he said. I like that.
Mhm.
I like that idea. Moneybag 97 drops an additional $2 which says losing COD hurts Sony exclusive. I'm glad. And he drops. We also have another. Let me see. Yeah, he has risk it for the biscuit. Hey, Risk It,
Hey, what's up, buddy?
brother? How you feeling? He drops a very generous $3 super chat, and he says Collingwood for the wooden spoon in 2020. Okay, see, I didn't know what that was,
Wow.
but now I do. There you go. He gave you
So,
the finger.
Risk it for the biscuit. He barracks for a very terrible football team in Australia
Okay.
Okay.
that finished second last year, where my team was expected to be garbage, and they were not. They were quite good. They surprised everyone. And Riskett is just upset because he knows that Collingwood's probably going to go all the way this year, and his team will remain garbage. That's all it is.
Well, thank you for the clarification. Scott Gamer
that's
Dude,
okay.
who's been a channel member for 2 months, drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, hello, Boom and panel. Now that we have Age of Empires 2 on Xbox, do you think this means that we might see more RTS games on Xbox? Question 2, do you think Microsoft will expand the keyboard and mouse support Xbox's PC? Yeah, I can see them doing that. I absolutely can see them doing that. And I would imagine that more RTS games are going to come. But you know what's never going to come back to Xbox, which was the greatest RTS game in the history of all RTSs in life. And that is Aliens versus Predator, which was freaking phenomenal. I have a sealed copy and an open copy. It was multi-plat, but it is one of the greatest RTS games you've never played. But listen, Mag, let's get you in on the conversation. Lulu just really slam dunked the FTC.
Yeah.
And this is, and again, I don't know what she knows. She's the CCO, so obviously, or CEO, or whatever it is. She obviously knows what's going on with this deal. She knows that they are potentially in talks right now as we speak with the CMA and the EU. But what she said in these 5 tweets, and they were one after another, like she was just banging them out. She was right, dude. Everything that she said in those tweets were legitimate facts about Sony Pictures, about Sony's IPs, about Sony PlayStation, on how they handle their IPs. They're the market leader for a reason. It's not a mistake.
Yeah. So what it is at the end of the day, what she's pointing out is clearly the double standard. All right. And that's all that basically all it works out to the end of the day. And the thing is, as you had already mentioned, you've got Sony who's got their fingers in many pies. We're not just talking, and this is something I've talked about many times before, where that's where it's all integral, right? They talk about the Sony Interactive Entertainment goes into Sony Pictures, going as a Sony Animation, you know what I'm saying? And it goes into Sony Production. And it's all part of the pie, right? And look at what's happening now. Sony's in partnerships with Marvel. They're in partnerships with HBO, right? They're in partnerships with other studios in Hollywood. And then, of course, that ties in the SIE. Now they're in partnership with Amazon because they're going to be doing God of War with Amazon. They're going to be partnering up with Netflix. This is how this goes. So what they do not want to lose their grip. And they're not going to. That's the thing. And I think that a lot of this is just posturing. Okay, at the end of the day, they're not going to lose their grip. They're just going to not get as much of it, much of the net profit as they would like to. And that's something that Hargeet was talking about before. That poor baby makes 19 million instead, or 19 billion instead, and then they're going to be making 18.75 instead. I'm just throwing out numbers for fun. However, anyways, before I get into this whole thing, I got to say that this Lulu, first of all, I love the name. She's got the subtlety of like getting a love tap with a 25-pound sledgehammer. So it's, you know what I mean? Like she just nails it right there and doesn't lay it up. Now, I loved every minute of it, but what she does do is highlight the apps, what's actually going on out there. Like, for example, this whole Lena Khan situation. I might sound like an old man here, but this, to me, her actions and what she's doing, this is a testament. Like I said, please try not to judge me, but this is a testament to the younger generation. There's a difference between having a legitimate case versus virtue signaling. And virtue signaling is exactly what this generation is known for. Basically, a bunch of bull crap. They've got nothing. They've got no grounds to stand on. And a lot of it is just posturing and virtue signaling. That's the way I feel about it. And the other thing is, I have no dog in the race when it comes to American politics. But my personal feeling, is that her inexperience is showing, because I believe that she was put in the position to push a political agenda pushed by the Biden administration, in order to lean the direction that they want her to lean. And I think that she's a political puppet for that reason. And now the holes are starting to show up like Swiss cheese, because now you're going to see that there's actually, you know what I mean? Like that she actually has no ground to stand on here. Right. And it's going to be proven time and time again. It just got proved today with Meta. It's going to get proved again today, tomorrow or whenever with Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by tomorrow. And what happened when Microsoft said, when they said they were going to take him to court? Did Microsoft even flinch? They said, we are secure. I can't remember the exact words, but they said that we were secure and we are confident. That was the word I was going to say. We are confident in our case, which means, translation, that's corporate speak. I know it. That's corporate speak for we won. You just don't know it yet. Okay? That's basically what it all works out to. Now, the thing, hey, I'm just telling you how it is. That's how it is.
You know, it's funny.
You have to speak. Yes.
Yeah, no, real quick to your point. I want to add to your context to your point. Phil Spencer was interviewed by IGN, and he specifically said in that interview he's more confident about the deal being passed now than he was last year.
Right. And that's because the higher-ups beyond Phil are telling him what's going on. They're like, listen, because, I mean, that's out of his hands, too. I mean, yes, of course he's involved, but, when this goes to court, it's not going to be Phil sitting there like the people's court. It's got nothing to do with him. This is way above Phil. This is pay grades even above him. Phil, if you're listening, I love you. Come on. I'm going to see you in June. But anyways, that's what it is at the end of the day. Right? These are pay grades above him. So that when they look down and they're like, listen, Phil, don't worry about it. We got it. It's just going to take some time. Just careful what you say. Corporate speak is a very serious thing. You have to be careful with that. Now, in regards to a couple things I wanted to just address quickly before I pass it off to Special Nick, which for him, it's not Wednesday evening. It's probably Friday or Saturday morning. Australian time. Sorry, just kidding around.
It's Thursday midday. It's middle of
there
Thursday.
You go. I know. I'm just messing around. My dad was born and raised in Melbourne. So anyway, Risk It, by the way, yeah, he was. Yes, 20-something years in there, the whole 9 yards. So, Risk It, by the way, I know you're upset about Collingwood. It's got nothing to do with that. I think Risk It is upset because I called him the Aussie Jack Black. But anyways, that's a whole other story. Jim Ryan flying to Brussels. Okay, I don't think that, first of all, my personal feeling, I think he's got a side piece out there. That's the only reason why he keeps flying out there, because whatever the hell he's talking about is certainly not holding any weight in court. So anyways, that's just a joke aside. One thing I wanted to talk about, Hargeet had mentioned, is talking about the subscription service and how the subscription service works. And this is why, I mean, we talked about it, ad nauseum about why it's important and why Sony doesn't want this to go through. There's something that's very interesting. And when you said that this is why the deal is going to go through, in my personal opinion. If anybody knows anything about how subscription services actually work, and this is something, Asante, you were there when I did the show with Mooch. Remember the chat tried to shred me because I said the studio,
I know.
The studio does not care about the fans. They don't.
Yeah,
you know what they care about? They care about new subscriptions. So, for example, if all of us are subscribed to Game Pass and we continue to subscribe to Game Pass, right? They actually don't care about any one of us on this panel. You know what they care about? And this is why Game Pass grew in 2022 when they had no AAA games, because they're not looking at us. They know that we are the guys who are going to pay for Game Pass over and over and just let it go like a gym subscription Okay, like a
we
gym membership.
all have ours maxed out because that's what we do anyway. They're not speaking to us. We're already in pocket. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. You know who they're speaking to, Asante? They're speaking to my children. They're speaking to your children. They're speaking to the younger generation.
Yes.
For example, I'll bring up another example. James Gunn in Hollywood. You know, everybody was like, "Oh, about Superman." He's not looking at a 40-year-old Superman. You know why? Because in 10 years from now, Henry Cavill's going to be in his 50s. They don't want they are looking to the younger generation because I'm just telling you. I
want to hear Henry Cavill slander, please.
No. I love Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's the best Superman.
What the fact that in 10 years he'll be 50 is a slander? I thought it was a fact.
I don't
This
care.
is what I'm saying.
Henry Cavill can play 20-year-old Superman whenever he feels
When he's 50.
like it.
I know.
Damn
All they have
right.
to do is digitally remove the mustache. I love him, by the way. I think he was incredible. Best Superman, I think, next to, of course.
Hey, you know what? Real
Chris.
quick, Tom
Yes.
Warren is in the chat, and he said,
Hey,
Tom,
Tom.
who let Special Nick in on the podcast?
Unbelievable. You see what happens? Special
You
Nick
don't know
shows
who
up.
Tom Warren is. Well, he is the senior editor at The Verge. Tom, thanks so much for joining us, brother. Hopefully you're enjoying
Seriously,
the
Tom.
conversation.
Tom made us go early because he didn't want to be up late. What are you doing up now, dude?
Well, hey, he's getting called out.
He says he's always awake. That's what he says.
Oh, wow.
In the chat.
Hey, there
He's
you go. Hey,
always
man.
awake.
Yeah.
Tom.
That's a journalist for you. What can I
Money
say?
doesn't sleep. Remember that, all right? And that's why Wheezy doesn't sleep. But anyways,
Oh,
that's the way it
boy.
goes. Hey, come on, man.
All right.
I got to bring out some, Lil Wayne lyrics. But anyways, this is the thing. Getting back to Game Pass, okay? I just brought up the Hollywood thing because they're not, like I said, they're not speaking to us. They're not speaking to that generation. They're speaking to the generation that hasn't come up yet. Same thing with Game Pass. The reason why Game Pass grew is because you're going to have people that are in there who have never seen a Gears of War game. My kids have never seen that. They've never played they played Halo, but they've never played Gears of War. They never played any of these other first-party games or whatever else that's in the service. These are all new to them. So therefore, when people try to scratch their heads and say, why is this growing when they had nothing, is because it's not for you. It's for them, for the people who have never experienced that. Now, getting to Call of Duty. Sorry, I'm trying to interweb this all together here. Call of Duty, if 1% leaves, okay, the thing is, it's going to still be in the Sony ecosystem. People will continue to play there as long as their friends, family, and whoever are still in that ecosystem. And Microsoft, is going to continue to allow that game to stay in that system. Very few people are going to move over. Once again, showing that there are no legs to stand on when it says that, there's going to be a momentous shift of people moving over from the Sony ecosystem moving into the Xbox ecosystem. Some, but not all, right? And so that there's no worry there. And I don't think that that's going to be a worry. Now, we're also assuming, by the way, that, as we all know, empires fall. Call of Duty may not be the greatest and biggest title in 3-4 years from now. We have to drop.
Yes.
We have to drop the thought or the arrogance that in 5, 10, whatever years that Call of Duty is going to be the bee's knees, because it might not be. Rome fell apart. My people, okay? They fell apart. And they crumbled when everybody thought they were going to reign for 1,000 years. Same deal. Call of Duty, it could be the Roman Empire at some point. They're going to fall apart and something else is going to come up in its place. Everybody knows that the gaming industry, the entertainment industry is a hydra. And when one head falls off, another one comes in its place, because then it might be a completely different company that takes over from there. This is a huge gamble, and that's why Microsoft is not interested in Call of Duty. They're doing this for the mobile market and for the PC market, not for the specific title. And that's something that has to be dropped from the narrative. That's just something I thought about. But anyways, I'm just rambling at this point, but I'm going to pass it off to Special Nick. I just want to leave people with some thoughts on that, just to remember as to exactly why the FTC is going to lose, and they're going to be made to look fools in the end. And again, most of it is political posturing, just to show that they attempted to keep the big companies at bay. That's all it boils down to.
No, I mean, listen, again, great stuff as always. Rand says, at least you're not sleeping.
And Risk It for the Biscuit says, exactly. I agree with geriatric Bruce Willis.
Wow.
Geriatric. What? Bruce Willis
Geriatric.
is geriatric.
I was about to say,
I'm
Bruce
younger
Willis
than that
already
man.
is geriatric.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike.
outrageous.
And Rand, I'll have words with you later, sir.
Oh,
He
man.
Xbox
didn't
One
actually
plus
say
2.
that. I'm just poking the fire. I just
Oh
want
my
to-
God! Oh wow! You almost started a war. I was about
Yeah.
to go into DMs. Anyways, just kidding.
Well, I mean, listen, he's always skulking, and he always sends me messages that I got him again. I got him again sleeping. Why is that man allowed to be on the show? He's always sleeping. He puts it on the socials, brother. I mean, listen, I know you're not sleeping. I know your head's down and you're writing. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. Look, Special Nick. First of all, thanks so much for joining us. I want to get into what happened, what set this whole podcast afire. The FTC has lost again. In a story that I pulled from the NewYorkTimes.com, the judge is said to let Meta's virtual reality deal move forward. And they say this: the ruling is a defeat for the Federal Trade Commission, which used a rare antitrust argument to try and block Meta's acquisition of a small startup. And the federal judge has rejected the FTC's request to stop Meta, or Facebook's parent company, from buying a small virtual reality startup. Two people with knowledge of the matter said, signaling that efforts to rein in the tech giants may struggle in courts. Now, this is Lena Khan's 8th loss under her watch as the head chair at the FTC. There are a lot of people that are suggesting, Nick, that this loss to Meta opens the door for two things. One, it's clearly proven that they do not want to go to federal court against Microsoft because they're going to be laughed out of the room. And two, and this is more closer to probably what's going to happen, they are going to come back to the table and probably accept the same concessions that Microsoft is currently putting together for both the CMA and the EU Commission. And they're going to allow this to go through, potentially getting this deal done before E3 2023. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Another loss for the FTC?
Well, I hadn't heard about that, but to be honest, look, even before that, the FTC would never have won in court anyway.
Right.
But the funny thing is, I had said on our show a while back that the Meta case was actually probably the one case where you might have justification for having an issue with it, because Meta is effectively the market leader in VR. So if they're buying a VR startup, you have an argument. I'm not saying you'd win, but you'd have an argument.
Right.
With the Microsoft Activision thing, I don't think there was a legitimate argument, especially with everything Microsoft was offering. So if we
to your
all
point,
thought,
Special Nick, 85% of the VR market.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
Meta.
you'd have an
85%.
argument there.
So please continue. Yes, you're absolutely
The
right.
FTC has an argument there. It's like, hold on, you've got 85% of the market and now you want to buy a startup. Just calm down a little bit. Like I had said all along, Microsoft is third by a long, long way. So all them buying ABK in a worst case scenario is doing is maybe making them first. Okay. Like if FTC never had a chance in court before, this Meta thing just shows that there's, less than zero chance now. I only jumped in because I heard what Hargeet was saying. And you know how when you're watching podcasts and you want to get in there and talk, it just...
Please elaborate on it. Go crazy.
I agreed with everything Hargeet said. The only contention I had, because we all like clowning on Jim, I've always said that I think Jim wants to copy Microsoft. I think he does. I think he legitimately does. The problem is Jim's not coming from the same position Phil was when Phil suggested Game Pass back all those years ago. Jim has a few things that he's got to fight against. He's probably got to fight against Japan because they probably don't want to change it all.
Yep.
Whether people want to admit it or not, whether people want to put any importance on it or not, he's got to fight against the hardcore PlayStation fans that he's so good at cultivating. Because, they don't want to put their games in PlayStation Plus because they think it would devalue them.
I'll counter
So he's got to
that in a
fight against
second,
them.
but Go ahead.
But he's also got to consider the fact that right now, as of this moment, they don't have the first-party output in terms of consistency yet to support putting their games day one in PlayStation Plus. So Sony aren't in a position to be able to rely on third-party day one launches like Microsoft are. Sony, because a third-party day one launch for PlayStation Plus would cost Sony more than it would cost Microsoft. Why? The bigger install base. So Sony doesn't want to have to rely on the third-party launches like Microsoft can afford to. So they have to bide their time. That's why they're buying all these studios. That's why they're pivoting a little bit to games as a service and all that sort of stuff. They're building it all up slowly.
And all the
once they
remaster
get it-
remakes. Yeah, they're
once
wasting
they
time.
get
They're
it
delayed.
Yeah, once they get it all going and they have those first-party games pumping out more frequently, then they'll make that switch to day one, and they'll fill the gaps with some indies like a Stray or like a whatever it is, and that's when they'll make that move. Because like you said, and I 100% agree with you, I think once they make that switch, they'll blow past Microsoft's numbers
Easily.
quick, smart.
Really fast.
Quickly.
Really fast.
So much faster.
Yeah.
So it like you said, it just makes total sense that
Yeah.
they would do it. But to me, it sounded like you were saying, because you said Jim's not the right person. That's the only part I disagreed with. I think he ultimately is, but I just think he's not in the same position to just flick the switch like Phil did. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there was, God, now I can't remember. There was something Mag said, and I agreed with him, and now I've forgotten.
Well, you know what, guy? While you think about that, we have some breaking news here. Post
More?
Up,
Oh, okay.
who was just talking about this. And I don't know, he wasn't talking about this on his show because this literally just happened, but he just posted an hour ago. You know how Sony was subpoenaed by Microsoft to show their books, especially when it comes to their, third-party deals.
Didn't they get an extension?
They have now were issued an extension to February 15th as they are not ready to show what they are asked to show by Microsoft, and they apparently
They're shredding documents as we speak.
So, but the subpoena
Exactly.
worked.
The
In other words,
subpoena
they're-
worked. It did work, but they have asked now. This
Wow, they did not quash it.
No.
Wow.
So it says here, again, this is a shout out to Post Up, who might or may not be listening. He says, update to the Microsoft ABK deal. Sony needs more time to respond to the subpoena from
I heard this
Microsoft. The
morning.
new extension has been issued to February 15th. This is
Wow.
as per
Okay.
the FTC government
Yeah.
system
And
files.
if you check Post Up's Twitter right now, he also has the PDF of the actual back and forth adjudication and the decision made.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything.
I have it in
Like
front of
the
me.
official
morning,
document.
Yes.
So there you go.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah. So
Docket number 94-112, 1-2, I should say, of the United States of America Federal Trade Commission Office of Administrative Law Judges. I have all the documents. He posted it in here. And yes, they have issued, they had asked for an extension, and they were issued the extension once again to the 15th of February. I don't know if they're shredding documents, but I know that they're probably concerned because all you have to do is look at all the deals that they have done, the walled garden of Sony
Well, I
that
mean,
they have kept off of Microsoft.
they can't shred them because ultimately those deals will come to light. There's no way
Yes.
around it, right?
Yeah, I know.
So,
That was just me
I
being
mean, you
facetious.
have to be like.
It's a
open
joke,
about
ladies and
that.
gentlemen. We don't think they're shredding
So-
them. That would be
I
We're
illegal.
not actually shredding
It would be
documents.
illegal. Yes, that is correct.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
It's a joke,
I
folks.
did-
a joke.
I did just remember what I agreed with Meg. It was something
go
I
ahead.
had said on our podcast as well. Like I had said that people make an assumption that Call of Duty is still going to be the king in 10 years, 15 years. You know, I apologize for anyone who watches our show. I'm repeating myself right now, but in 2006, you know, Halo 3 marketing was ramping up and people were getting excited about Halo 3. If anyone had told you that Call of Duty was going to come along and dethrone Halo in 2006, you probably would
You would have laughed at them. You would have laughed at them. Yeah.
So Halo was COD before COD
Yeah.
became
Yes.
what it is in 2007.
Yep.
Like And that's not to suggest that COD won't keep going for another 20 years. Maybe it will. But the point is, maybe it won't. So this weird focus on Call of Duty is just... Yeah, I think it's purely about Sony and them looking after their profits, which is understandable. But it's... Yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird
I
thing
just want
to
it
go
to
after,
be over.
right?
I just want it to be over.
Right.
Considering
To go
that
after a
ABK
game.
is so much bigger than just Call of Duty, it just
is.
seems
I
so
know.
bizarre to focus on the
Yeah.
one thing. Like, no one's paying attention to Diablo or Candy Crush or any of these
And
other
you know
ones.
what? You know what, Mag? I think Microsoft likes it that way. You want to
Yeah.
keep everyone focused here?
Exactly.
Sure, let's focus there, right?
Exactly. You know, when you want
Forget
the kid to
about
stare at the camera
all the
when you're
money
taking a
making
picture.
back here, you know?
Yeah.
See what
So-
happens when you look over here, look over here, look over here. That's what it is. Yeah.
That's
So,
exactly
Nick, the
what's
one
happening.
thing
Yep.
I would disagree with on your thing, I mean, mostly you're right, is their leadership is an issue. It's something that they have to deal with, right? That Jim would have to deal with, is the fans pushing back. Every time I've seen Sony push further, I don't see the fans saying, "Oh my God, I'm switching away. That's the end of the world. I'm not going to use PlayStation." No, they
Yeah, I
just
know. They
accept it.
justify most things.
They just accept it. They just accept it. It is what it is.
Well, because
right?
they're too busy justifying it to,
Right.
to the
It
console
doesn't
warriors
matter.
on the other side, you know.
Exactly. So, like, eventually, when that line is moved, they just move the line with it. Oh, but at least you don't have this. Like, okay, whatever, doesn't matter, because
Yeah, you're probably right.
Right? It
You're
is what
probably
it is.
right.
Every single time, they accept it.
Yeah.
So,
I can't wait for that day. I'm booked up to like what 2024 premium. I want them to have parity with. Oh, it'd be
I
great.
have a few tweets bookmarked. I have a few tweets bookmarked from people saying they'll never put their games in day one. Don't worry about that.
Wow,
they will.
excellent.
They will, and they've already said it. All their the multiplayer games, they are going to go in the service, right? Because that's the whole point. They want exposure, right? That's how you get players. So
They'll get whether people believe it or not, they'll make more money.
yeah. Oh, they will.
Like-
They will.
Well, Nick, before you showed up, we literally just talked about it when we were talking about hi-fi. For example, the fact that a $30 American, $30 US game is outselling and outperforming a $70 Sony, a Forspoken game, right? So for something that's half the price, is selling twice the amount of units and making not twice the amount of money, but making more money than that. It just
Despite
and
being
it's in
on
the
Game
subscription
Pass.
service. Exactly, in a subscription
Yeah.
service that's 25 million plus, right? It's pretty remarkable. That just shows you right there, right? So.
Well, I mean, listen. Let's bring this back around. I'm gonna go because I don't. Mag always has to leave at the last minute, so we don't want to save him for last. Mag, again,
Yeah.
this loss that the FTC just took publicly is it's bad for Lena Khan. It is another black eye, and like I said, I know most of us here, and for those folks, we have 600 people in the live chat. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out Primetime Gaming, more specifically Double Barrel Gaming. We are a couple of hundred away from 12K. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing.
Only 196 likes. Come on, people. Let's do something
I don't
about
know. That's very strange with the likes.
It's an
Hit the
easy
like
thing.
button,
You just
folks.
hit it
Like,
right there. You just do it.
A
Yeah.
good friend of the program, Lethal Papa, the man that carries a silence assassin stick, has been saying that. Please, folks, hit the like button if you're enjoying the conversation.
Yeah,
But
man.
Mag,
Yes.
what does this do for the Microsoft case against the FTC that they lost again? Because what they're trying to bring into question is a very strange, skewed vision of the law, and that theory, that practice that was being used against Meta was laughed out of court. It's so
Right.
so what they're doing isn't working.
It's affirmation. All this is just affirmation that they've already won the case. Like I said, they've won. They just don't know it yet, right? So the FTC has lost, but they just don't know it yet. As for Lena Khan being in the position that she's in, I've also said this. I think about a month ago when we were talking about the damn near same subject. Again, I am Canadian by birth. I don't have any. I have any dog to in the race with American politics. But I did say it a month ago that Lena Khan will stay there, but she is out the minute the 2024 elections are done. Okay, because I think there's going to be a shift in power. I think it's almost guaranteed there'll be a shift in power, and she'll be gone the same day, if not the next day. So I already called that anyway. Like I said, it's just a call. I don't lean either way. I don't really care. I'm just saying that's what I think is going to happen. Now, like I said, once again, all that is just affirmation, is that they've got the case won. Nick literally just said it 10 minutes ago. Okay, that if the Meta case went through with it, what was it, 85%?
Yeah.
85%, and that. And what we're talking about here with Microsoft, and we talked about it last week and the week before, we said the same thing. And of course, Microsoft mentioned it themselves that when this goes through, they will not even be the market leader. They will still be in third place, for Christ's sake.
Well, I mean, look, I got one better for you, Mag. Technically, they're in fourth place if you consider Apple Arcade. I learned this last week,
Apple
and
Arcade. Yeah, that's true.
Folks, I was blown away.
Hey,
How many people in the chat, raise your hand, know that they have over 100 million subscribers to Apple Arcade?
Yep.
Like, I had no idea.
That would include people like me that are subscribed to Apple One, correct?
I don't know how that works.
It includes people subscribed to Apple One.
Yeah.
It includes all the people that get the free 2-3 months every time you get a new one. If you buy a new phone, they give you. So they're padding the numbers. But those are.
Yeah, I was about to say that's Apple fluffing up the numbers.
Oh yeah, they're padding the numbers.
That's what they do. They utilize all that for analytics, so that it justifies them being able to go to the coffers and invest more, right? So that's basically all it is. It's the same with Netflix. If you scam, by the way, did you guys know this? Here's a scam. Did you guys know this? That Amazon, for example, this is another example of what we're just talking about here. Did you know that when Amazon, when you turn on Amazon Prime, okay, and the game, what the hell's it called? The Rings of Power, when it would have it would start. You know how it would start playing without you
pre-roll?
Wow.
They count that as a view.
Do you know that they counted that as a view?
Of course they did.
Right? So it's the same idea, right? They're padding their numbers. So anyways, back to the Microsoft thing.
With Xbox Live, right? They say they have 120 million or something like that. That's because you might have it on your phone, right? You might log into the Xbox app on your phone. That doesn't mean you're playing games with it. It just means you'll log into the Xbox app.
That's right.
They count that as a monthly active user. So they're inflating numbers to it. It is what it is, right? That's just
it is what it is. But either way, what it does do, as I was saying, let's say that when the deal goes through, or whatever, they'll still be in third place, actually technically in fourth place, if you want to call it that. But the thing is, at the end of the day, what it does do is it does open the door for improvement, obviously, right? So that what it does is that it gives them a chance to shine, a chance to be able to move forward with something that it actually gives you the opportunity to compete to be more competitive in the game space, right? So that, other than that, there really is nothing else to say. It is what it is, and they're going to lose. This thing is going to lose, and it's going to be done by this year. And then that's really it. That I really got nothing else to say. I pretty much said it on my last rant. So, it's just like I said. But I don't think she's going to be there for much longer. They're not going to boot her out of the spot because it's going to make the Democrats look bad. So they're going to have to hold on to that, and they're going to have to grin and bear it for another year and a half. And then they could use the excuse of, wow, the Republicans kicked her out. They're not going to use these losses as, okay, well, we're going to boot her out, even though her record is pretty atrocious. However, like I said, what they're going to do, and the other thing is that they don't want her to go because they're going to martyr her, right? Because they're going to say, you see, they got rid of her because she was trying to fight big tech. Okay, she was trying to bring them down so that they don't, become overlords, just kind of like Big Pharma is, right? She went against the big one. It was the David and Goliath story, and that's what I think they're going to kind of roll with that. And I think that's a great spin, right? If you think about it, I really hope I just didn't give them ideas, but I'm sure they got scumbags that do that for a living, that literally just spin stories, right? So, hey, that's what they're going to do to her. They're going to martyr her. What is she now? Boom, 0-8.
Yeah, she's lost a lot. She's lost 8 so far. Yeah.
But they need to look like they care, though. They need to look
this is what
like
I'm saying.
They care.
So that's what it is. At the end of the day, they're going to martyr her and say, look, she lost, but she was trying to fight against the big tech for you, the consumer. They were looking out for you, the consumer, which of course is absolute bollocks because Microsoft's specific situation here is actually looking out for the consumer, not the other way, right? So once again, and I didn't want to touch on this, but I am going to kind of very briefly touch on this, is that when something happens in the real world and everybody's outraged by it, and I'm not talking about anything specific, but then when it gets to court, it gets thrown out of court, and like, how the hell did that get thrown out of court?
Yeah,
it's because there's a difference between emotion and law.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, law has to come into. At the end of the day, it's the law. You have to make decisions based on written law not ideology.
And it sucks
not-
for some cases, Boom, because in
No,
some
no,
cases
it's-
it may not be fair, but in the end of the day, the law is the law. And in this, Microsoft has the best lawyers in the world. They already know they won. Like I said, right? They already know. It's just a matter of having a judge looking at it in an indifferent fashion, right? And being able to look at the at the facts and be like, you know what, this is garbage. Get this out of here. You wasted our time and our money. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, she first of all, she's doing a lot of things that I dislike. One is the whole unions thing. Like, the Democrats are for unions, and Microsoft is stepping aside and allowing unions to form in an industry how it's never happened before ever. Right? That's never happened in this gaming industry. Voice actors have unions. Yes. Developers have never had one. They've been fighting this fight for years. Microsoft is one of the first big tech companies that are going to step aside and allow, and it's already happening. It's happening over at ZeniMax right now as we speak. It's going to happen in other places. It's going to happen specifically in ABK when that deal is done. That's a big deal. The fact that she's looking that all of these big time unions have come out against the FTC and said, "Hey, listen, you know, you're hurting our chance for a seat at the table, which we've been fighting for decades. What the H is going on?" And again, on top of wasting millions of taxpayer dollars on a frivolous case that she's trying to use a skewed version of the law for her narrative is why she is ultimately going to fail and ultimately be booted out of her spot, because this will be number 9 that she loses if she gets there. Hargeet, let's get to you real quick about this. Again, this is egg on the face of the FTC again. Talk about it.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to be as averse to Lena. I think she's a firebrand. She wanted to come in and change things.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Fair enough. Biden wanted to put her in power and see what happens. Fine. It does cause turmoil, but that's democracy, right? So you just you deal with it, right? If the people don't like it, you have a choice. You can vote for somebody else and change it out, right? So, on top of that, they did just vote in an election, and there's now oversight from the House. They can actually bring her in and say, well, what are you doing? Why are you losing all these cases? Why are you wasting our money? What's the point of all this? Tell us your plan, right? They do have oversight, and they can bring her in and ask her, right? And I think they have started doing that already, right? So these things are there, and in some cases, I agree with her sentiment. The idea with Epic, I'm kind of with that. That you don't need to exploit people. That's a good thing, right? If it's too easy and there's no confirmations and kids accidentally are paying $1 every now and then, and their parents are like, well, how did you spend all this money? That's fair, right? Let's go after that. There are other things she's looking at. Same thing, right? In those cases, she's winning, right? So when it's not mergers and acquisitions and this weird new idea she has, right? Fair enough. It's not working there. But in some other cases, it is working, and we'll see what her end result is. I agree with Mag, though. I think a new administration is going to come in and it's going to flip, and they'll they're down one Republican anyway, right? It's supposed to be even 2 and 2.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
chair.
Even, yeah.
So they'll get that person and then a new chair. But yeah, I don't want to pile on her. She has a different mindset, and that's okay. That's fair. That's America, right? Everybody gets to play, and if the president says I want to try this out, fair enough. That's the way it goes, right? So we get to elect who we like, and this is what comes out of that, right? So I'll leave that at that. Yep, it's not great for their potential cases going forward as well, because as they keep piling on, you'll just get more and more of this. Well, why are you even bothering? And the next thing is going to be this suit that's already up at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, they're supposed to be voting on that
soon enough.
Soon. I think it's the end of the month, or maybe it's early February. Yeah, if they lose that, that's going to be
that'll be a big deal, right? Because then suddenly it's like, okay, you're wasting my time. I just want to go to a federal judge now. I've got my information. Let the federal judge make the decision, right? So if you're going to keep wasting my years for stupid crap, right? And that's fair in ways it is fair, right? So if that happens, well, there's your relief, right? So suddenly a company can just bring it to a federal judge and say, make a judgment here. What's going on, right? Either we can continue or, like we'll be wasting 4 years in litigation with the FTC. So, this is the way it goes. Like, yep, it is kind of annoying that this happens, but ultimately, like Phil was saying, right, eyes should be on this from regulators. It's a big deal.
Yes,
right. What I hope comes out of this more so than just one little aspect of it is maybe this spawns more attention to gaming. Maybe regulators more understand what is the gaming world. They've ignored it. That's just fair. They've ignored it, right? They don't really understand the biggest expenditure in entertainment, which is what gaming is, right? You can pretty much take the rest of it combined and it doesn't equal how much is spent on gaming. It's very large. Yeah. And they just kind of ignore that part of the economy, and they really shouldn't, right? This is something that they should start paying attention to. And maybe that will spawn more regulations, more legislation, right? To figure out how to best serve the consumers here, right? Maybe that comes out of it. Yes, it is. It's another failure. Not unexpected. I totally expected she was going to fail this the second it goes to court, right? There was no case there. Even with 85%, it's too small a market, right? PSVR 2, do people think that's going to be a massive success? The news is coming out that they aren't even getting the pre-orders.
They cut production from 2 to 1 million.
It is what it is. It's just not a big market.
We were talking about that on Breakfast with
forecasting.
Yeah, it's too expensive. It's
not
it's
the production.
And like people aren't buying into it. It just is what it is, right? So there's a niche market there. Let it develop. If it can develop, it may fail in 5 years. It may just go away and maybe it gets replaced with AR or something, whatever. But that is the thing, right? So that's why I
want Ready Player One, man. That's what I want in my life.
That's far away. I mean, but it's not too far away. It could come, right? But yeah, this is the thing, right? So they lost her idea that this market may become something big and therefore I should stop you from doing something. That's a theory that's very weird, and it wasn't really going to hold.
Nope.
Right. In the case of Microsoft, it's a big amount. It really is. Yes. But I don't think they understand just how big this pie is. Right. They're looking at it. Hey, Disney bought Lucas and it was like $4 billion, and that's like the biggest movie ever. And like, how are they spending $70 billion? They just don't understand this pie is so massive that this isn't actually that big. Right,
I don't think they understand the market at all.
No, that's the problem, I don't think that. Right? Look, that's a great point, guys. And to add to that, Hargeet and Special Nick, before we bring in Kay Asante, is look what happened at Playground. Right, 10 people left. They left, and what did they do? They started a AAA studio with 10 people with private funding that's going to make an open world game. And it's a new studio. How many times a week do we see ex-developer from Naughty Dog, ex-developer from 343, ex-developer from wherever started Studio A, B, and C, and they're working on a AAA game?
Respawn, anyone?
Perfect.
The creator of Call of Duty leaves and says, I'm making something new.
Yep.
Creates a whole new thing. Has one of the biggest games ever, Apex.
That's right.
That's beaten Call of Duty. Right. It's truth. It is what it is. Right. You don't know where something new comes out, where somebody's like, I'm done with this. I'm going to go do something new. And it hits. Right.
Listen, good stuff. Good stuff, Hargeet. Kay Asante, this is a big loss, a big public black eye for the FTC again. And
again.
When you consider the smoke that they put out there for this blocking of Microsoft, this does not look good, dude.
No, it doesn't. But I, too, will stand kind of with Hargeet on this one and say, like, I have a problem with how this came about. But the original idea, the original sentiment that got someone like Lina Khan in office and in position is a true and just one, right? The initial concept of it. Because how much, while Marvel Zombie from way back, am waiting for a true rendition of the X-Men, right? So I was happy that Fox finally gave back what belonged to Disney. Because, come on now, you already have some of it. You might as well have all of it, right? I was there for it. They were the market leader by far, and they were still allowed to spend $52 billion to squash and literally dissipate one of their direct competitors, right? This stuff happens pretty frequently where, the law that these regulatory bodies are supposed to be the realm they're supposed to be protecting, right? It's a very specific, narrow window. It's a very defined thing, and depending on what administration's in power, these things get stepped on and trampled left and right, right? And it's very much open to interpretation. The law is there, but will you stand? What's your interpretation of it? Are you willing to go to bat for it or not, right? And they allowed the pendulum to swing very far in one direction. So that allowed those in the public who think, hey, we should rein in such ridiculous spending, and they do lots of bad things with that. The NVIDIA ARM deal would have been another one of those things.
That would have been a disaster, because that would have been 90-something% of the market by one chip maker.
Yes, and NVIDIA would literally have their hands in everyone's pocket at that point. Every time an iPhone would release, NVIDIA would be smiling, because every single time an iPhone would be made, the licensing costs to NVIDIA would be monstrous. Nobody would be able to get away from NVIDIA. So all these things are true, and some of these decisions were allowed to be made even though it's clearly against the penance of these groups, right? So it makes sense that you bring in a hardliner, right, to kind of pull the reins back, make sure people recognize that, hey, this is not how it should be, right? And for those who aren't aware, what did Lina Khan do before she became the FTT chair? She was the associate law professor at Columbia Law School, right? So it's not like, oh, she's inexperienced or she doesn't know what she's doing. She knows exactly what she is doing, exactly what she's doing. And the people who put her in power knew exactly what she would do when you brought her in power, right? Now, what the mistake she's made was she should be a scalpel, not a hammer, right? She should be strategic, because believe it or not, the EU, the CMA, they're in her court. They're also about big tech bad, because these overboard moves have happened all over the world, right? The difference between them and us is they lead with law first and their opinions second. So even though in their own personal spaces while they're drinking their whiskeys, they will curse the moon and curse the sun at Microsoft and all these other big tech horrible people just taking their money and running roughshod on everything. When they're in their offices, their first tenet is to follow that very defined frame of law that they are there to protect, right? And unfortunately, she came in with those intentions and became a hammer instead of a scalpel. Went way too far to the left, way too far to the right, went too far with the arguments. She literally did the big tech bad thing and then tried to fill in the middle why, right? And her arguments of why fell apart hilariously, right?
So is that because she was given too much power? You see, power corrupts. I'm sorry to say.
I don't think she was given too much power. I just think that the power that is within the FTC isn't enough to make the change that Lina Khan and the people who follow her want. And as such, they're trying to stretch the capabilities of the FTC, right? Because what the FTC can do today, exactly, what the FTC can do today does not allow them to just say big tech bad and fill in later. So what she's doing is trying to allow that to exist even once, because once the precedent is set, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I will not say, oh, she's ridiculous, she's foolish, she's this and that. I will say next time you try to bring in a pit bull or a firebrand, bring in one who's strategic, not ridiculous with the hammer trying to smash everything, because clearly here we are, right? And to your point, Boom, and I wholeheartedly agree, you can experiment and do whatever the hell you want. But in the world we live right now, in the economic situations where, as Mr. Boomstick says, freaking eggs are $8 in most places, now is not the time. Now is not the time to waste like taxpayer money on video games, right? You need to pick a better problem to really fight, right? Yeah, Microsoft, big tech bad, video games. And by and large, precedent sits with them. Oh, and by the way, in most jurisdictions, they are the hand that the hand that feeds. You don't slap the hand that feeds. So this was a horrible like way to go from jump, and she should have never went that far. She should have. There were so many other places she could have gone. She should have never done.
But it was
this.
obvious.
Isn't it ironic, Santi, that you say that, and then the one thing that they're fighting against is that the fact that when eggs cost $8 US, is that the company is trying to offer you an entertainment service for people at a cut rate
for peanuts. And not only are we offering you for peanuts, but that nut that you could never crack, which is bring unions into big tech. Yeah, that was also solved.
And you know what? That's something that a lot of people are not talking about, is that you're actually improving the work conditions.
Hello,
right?
It's
and not just at Microsoft.
About the people.
And not just at Microsoft, because as we've already established,
it's going
the
to change
gaming
the
environment
landscape.
is very small, and getting good help is hard to find. So you see what do you call them? Developers move from studio to studio frequently. You see, like exactly with this whole Turn 10 thing. You know what happened? One of the dudes, some of the dudes there were one of the OG founders. Some of them were OG employees. They probably have stock. They probably have shares. It was time to cash out. They got their check, so they start a new studio, right? This is what happens. It's part of the equation, right? So I will not dash her and say she's ridiculous, but I will say, like, they should have, if this is what you wanted to do, bring in a man with a scalp. Well, okay. I will take that. Bring in a person. Didn't mean to say it that way. Bring in a person. Bring in a woman. I don't care, as long as you have a scalpel and not a hammer, and you don't walk around like a bull in a china shop, just breaking everything, expecting people to agree with you. That is
what I don't like is trying to change law to suit an ideology. See, that's where I have an absolute problem. You see, you're trying
the law comes first,
not
the ideology.
Yes, I understand that she has done some great things, and I agree with you. I think the Epic Games thing, where they got fined $500 million, well deserved, because they were doing some stuff that was not right, shady. And that's a big win for her. But the bottom line is that in her last couple of cases, she tried to do things that were sneaky. She tried to bring in very skewed old ways of the market and trying to change law to benefit her, whatever her mission is. That's wrong. Absolutely. That is unacceptable.
But that's the problem with the way the American system allows for. She can use time delay because she knows that her case is bad. How is that even a thing that can be allowed?
That's why she's going to lose the Supreme Court.
That's why the Supreme Court case is there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But again, that's why we have checks and balances, right? But I wish they had taken the opportunity to create the concession, say like 3 years, Game Pass can't change price.
Yes, I said that. I've been saying that for years. I said that for. I said that in every episode we talked about it. Hey, listen, your service, you're going to get a lot of big things put in there. You can't hurt the consumer by making it go from $15 a month to $35 a month. You know what I'm saying? You got to lock the price in. That would have been a great concession, because
hopefully the EU does that. Maybe the EU comes up with that, you know?
Yes.
And it's funny you bring up Epic, because that was the right thing. Epic was being a bit dodgy around kids' accounts and all that sort of stuff. But the irony of all this with ABK is, if Microsoft was trying to buy Epic as opposed to ABK, they'd have a case, or more of a case. Like,
especially because of Unreal Engine.
Locked down, because of Unreal Engine, not because of Fortnite, not because of Rocket League.
Unreal Engine,
So Microsoft, I said a while ago that I think Microsoft is trying to establish itself as the backbone of game development. That's what PlayFab's about. That's what GameStack's about.
Special Nick, they just added Havoc to Unity. They just added Microsoft Physics Engine to came out like 20 minutes ago. The news gods, man, I'm telling you.
That's what I mean.
It's all over the place.
Microsoft is trying to establish itself, I think, as the backbone of video game development. So if they were trying to buy Epic, then the FTC has a case, because the FTC is like, well, hold on a second. Your Azure PlayFab's already being used by third parties. It's being used by your studios. It's being used by... Now you want to add the most widely used engine on Earth into GameStack and PlayFab. Hold on. Let's just pull the reins a little bit. Again,
I would agree there. That'd be a problem. Yes.
But they'd have an argument if they were trying to buy Epic. Because there's what's the consumer advantage? What's the competition advantage in them owning Epic? There isn't one. Where in them owning ABK, again, from purely a consumer perspective, let's just live in the world where they lock COD away, because that's where the focus seems to be. It seems to be on COD. So let's live in the world where Microsoft are assholes and they decide that they're going to lock away COD. Even from that perspective, unless you're a PlayStation-only gamer, it's still generally a net profit for consumers because they're providing more avenues to COD through cloud, through PC, through everything. But then they're also providing a cheaper avenue to COD because of Game Pass. So from a purely consumer perspective, technically there's no issue unless you only own a PlayStation and love paying $70 for games.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I don't know, the whole thing just always seemed very, very weird from the start to me.
It seems weird because it's not normal. You don't take something that is like a movie and say, oh, this movie cannot be bought by somebody because it's too big. That's just not a thing. It's a piece of art.
Yeah.
COD can be made today, gone tomorrow. Who knows? It's just a game. It just makes no sense to me.
You know, it's funny you say that, Hargeet, because we have learned, and especially Nick has heard about this as well. I've talked about this publicly before. We know for an absolute fact that Treyarch and Infinity Ward are currently working on new IP that are based on an open world first-person space game. Now, are they working together? Is it the same game? I don't think so, the way it was described to me. They called it very similar to a Mass Effect first-person shooter.
Nice.
They have an idea. I think the numbers, I understand Call of Duty is big, but it's not, like everyone said it, it's not always going to be
they're looking
big.
past it. They're looking past it already. Absolutely.
I mean, they just put out 2 remakes. Just think about that, right?
Yes.
If they had continued ideas, they would put those out. They don't have ideas. They're done with Call of Duty. They're going to keep it limping along. That's kind of where it is.
Well, I mean, they've gone back to Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean,
don't be surprised.
Call of Duty 2, a remake, something. Who knows?
I was just going to say that. Don't be surprised that not this year in 2023, because we know it's DLC. It's not an actual game. It's DLC, right? And that's weird. That's weird considering there's a game every year. Okay, that's fine. I guarantee you, the new game, quote unquote, new game for 2024 is going to be Black Ops 1. One of their
had a
biggest
new
sellers.
idea, something
probably
futuristic.
wouldn't surprise me.
As a remake, Black Ops 1 gets a remake very similar. Which, by the way, called Modern Warfare. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, whatever. Modern Warfare remake, the first one, is a masterclass achievement. I got almost every achievement. I could not stop playing that game. Phenomenal work. But look, I am going to say
real quick.
Yes.
Real quick. Nick was bringing up some interesting points. So while he was saying it, I was looking, like Googling really frequently here. There is an interesting thing.
Okay.
As of January 4th, 2023, the market share of Unreal Engine as an entity, whether 3 or 4, only 14%.
Really?
They are not the market leaders. Do you know who the market leader is? As far as engines everyone uses, you'd think it's Unreal because that's all we hear about.
Unity?
It is, in fact, Unity with 26.9%.
Well, there you go. So Microsoft can buy Epic. There you go, Phil.
They could buy Unreal.
Get out there, Phil, and buy Epic.
They could buy Unreal. I mean, they are switching Unreal Halo to Unreal. Let's move forward, shall we?
They are Unreal Engine's biggest client. Microsoft.
They definitely are that. Yes, absolutely. And they have Unreal like OGs in the form of Coalition.
And the funny thing is, I always thought before the ABK stuff, I always thought they should go for Epic before Unreal Engine 5 took off and started getting used for like smaller budget movies and stuff. Because that's where Unreal is looking next. They want to start having Unreal used to make animated movies and all that sort of stuff. I thought maybe Microsoft should get in before that happens. But I mean, I'm sure
too late now. Well, look, I'm going to say this. We broke the record today of 600. We had 610 people here, max out, which is fantastic. It is over 2 hours. We're going to get everyone out of here. First, I want to say thank you, Special Nick, for jumping in, brother. In the future,
sorry for interrupting.
No, never an interruption, brother. We had a lot of things happen. We normally at 7
Blame
people
Hargeet.
here. But we are happy to have you here.
That's good.
Let me just catch up on some of the super chats, and then we'll get everyone out of here, specifically with Mag first, because he's got to bounce. Danny, Passion Official, good friend of the program, drops a $2 super chat and says he's enjoying the show during my long drive home. Thanks. Well, thank you, brother, for the generosity, and thank you for listening to the show. Moneybag 97 drops an additional, very generous $2 super chat. Says Xbox has focused on players 25 and younger, and that's smart. Absolutely. Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat. Says Activision is already getting heat for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 from influencers, plus a massive drop in active player base. Yeah, eventually it's going to drop. It is what it is. Risk it for the biscuit drops a very generous $8 super chat and says, this is all posturing. FTC lost bargaining chips when they took it to court. They've stepped outside of their mandate too much. The judge will see that. And I agree. I think that they've overstepped for sure, overreached, whatever pun you want to use. Moneybag 97 drops an additional and $5 super chat and says Microsoft can just make COD spin-offs exclusive, gun at war, and Sony will crash. Sony's going to be fine. I think they're going to be good. Sir X-Men drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, why does everyone forget about regular gold members? I think they need to get rid of gold, but they need to.
Yeah. Well, I think he means it in the context of number of subscribers and viewers that Microsoft has. Yeah, it does inflate it if you add those as well.
Yeah, 100%. Greggy8T drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, God of War has sold 11 million copies. We talked about that briefly. Sony will be fine. Deal goes through.
Fine.
And Danny Passion Official drops an additional $5 super chat and says, without law, there is no sin. If you can't take advantage of my actions to urgently create a law to stop what I'm trying to do, just saying. Well, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, but at the same time, you cannot, if you have to change the law because it's broken, I am all for it. Yeah. You cannot change written law, for ideology. You can't. There's something incredibly wrong with that.
I mean, you can, but you have to get everyone to agree with you first. You can't just start acting like it's a law without it actually being on the books, right?
And that's why they have people from different sides, right? So they're never going to agree, right? Because their ideologies
you want to make 4-day weeks. We're there for it. Get everyone to agree before you make 4-day weeks. You don't get up one morning and going, "Okay, it's Thursday. I'll see you next week." You don't do that. Right. Well, that's what she's trying to do.
And that's why these things never happen, because you have two people from one side, a set of ideologies here, two people of another set of ideologies here. They clash in the middle. They don't agree. Life goes on. You're still working 40-hour work weeks.
Absolutely. But listen, Mag, sell your brand, brother. Talk about where people could, check you out on social media, specifically Twitter. And everybody wants to know, including myself, where the F is Pony Master 420. I mean, did you snuff him? Did you kill him? Did you bury him?
No. He's still around. He's going to make a comeback. The thing is, what's right now is that people are so busy playing. I'm actually pissed off because people are so busy playing games that they're not actually being ridiculous in social media world. And I'm just waiting for a lull that people get upset. Now, I did have a couple of ideas, and I got to tell you, my wife, I said, honey, get the camera. I got this thing. I'm going to do this and this. I start getting the wig on. I'm start doing some other stuff. And my wife goes, wait a minute, what are you doing? And then I said, yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then she goes, if you do that, you're going to get kicked off of Twitter forever. And I'm like, well, shoot. I'm like, all right, never mind.
Listen to the missus. Yes.
So I had to, even her, and she's seen me do ridiculous things like jump off my house, do whatever I've done, all these crazy things I've done. Yes.
Mag, I suggest you start a Patreon, sir, because I want to see the too risky for Twitter stuff. Come on,
the too risky for Twitter stuff was something else. Yeah, but it was funny. It was really funny, but never mind. I can't even get into it, but I got to tell you, it would have caused a lot of problems and it would have been bad. And I'm like, listen, you know what? I got to be a little bit more responsible. But anyways, when people start getting ridiculous again, That's where I'm going to come out. It's just like Batman. You know, he's sitting there in his house. He's waiting in Wayne Manor. He's waiting for people to start being ridiculous. And then the signal goes up, and then I'll come flying out. Okay. But until then, I'm still doing some great stuff. I've got a lot of engagement going on. A lot of people, doing a lot of talking. I just did a show with Colt last week, and a lot of fun times there, too, as well. So I'll be doing some guest spots here and there. And, of course, you guys can find me here. Right. So, yeah, you'll find me here. And the guys, everybody, I'm still good to hang out for a little bit because my phone hasn't been ringing tonight. I'm usually done. Like 8:45, I'm out.
The minute you're gone. Like, yes.
8:45 now sometimes because it starts coming in early. My phone hasn't even lit up once. So I'm either everybody's behind or they ain't working. So, yeah.
Hargeet Chani, talk about Game On Daily. And you know what? We want to know when the vicious saltness, the sauce videos are going to show up. I mean, no one does it better than Gaz. Asa, obviously, I cannot wait to hear his thoughts on what's happening with Sony saying that they're going to cut their the numbers
that'll be
in
an
half.
Interesting set of episodes, right? This month we're gonna have the release. Asa is definitely.
I mean, it's
VR
expensive.
Guy.
What killed it for me, Hargeet, is I was a huge fan of VR, especially for Sony, because at the time of PSVR 1, their headset was the most comfortable to wear. It was phenomenal, especially because you wear glasses, right? I wear glasses, and I enjoyed it so much that I sold my original one, upgraded to the HDR pass-through. And when I learned about PlayStation VR 2, I was like, oh, my God, this is going to be great. And then they did me wrong like Sony does, most of their fans. And they said, no, all of their games are not backwards compatible. PlayStation VR 1 is compatible to some extent. It basically limped onto the PlayStation 5. You had to get a special plug. It was even more wires to have to go here, there, and everywhere. And all of my games were worthless. So then they go and say PlayStation VR 2, almost $700 if you get the one with Aloy after tax. I say, you know what, go F yourself, Sony, because I'm not spending that kind of money if I know that you're going to at some point not support, just like they did with PlayStation VR 1 and Vita and whatever else that they've done.
So boom, guess who has two thumbs that canceled his PSVR subscription PR like yesterday.
There you go.
Wow.
I have every headset, like every single one. I canceled mine yesterday.
Wow.
That's saying something.
Holy crap.
I have a Valve Index right there.
I was recommending that you go on to Game On Daily on that weekend, right? Because both you and Asa would have it. And wow.
I'm like, well, and let's be clear. I canceled it not because it's crap and I don't want it. I canceled it because since day one, I hit the pre-order button, I could buy it. And it told me I'd be there day one. Today, if you go to the same website, it still asks you to pre-order and it'll show up day one, which tells you they haven't run out of their first stock, which means I shouldn't have to spend ridiculous amounts of money for this thing. I will wait. They will drop the price because people don't want it like that. And when they do drop the price, it'll be amazing because that hardware is worth it.
Yeah. So anyway, GameOnDaily.com, YouTube.com/GameOnDaily. Go live is 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. And check me out here, Primetime Gaming, 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. And lately I've been on RDX every week too, so I'll probably be on there. You can check me out there too. And hopefully we'll get more and more news. I guess the CMA decisions are coming soon, maybe in the next.
I think in a couple of days, right?
So, so that should be coming soon, and maybe we'll get the full disclosure of this EU as to what they want from Microsoft. Right? Hopefully, this.
I would imagine that the EU and the CMA are talking, and I'm sure that whatever they want is going to be very, very similar.
Very similar, yeah, very likely, right? A lot of the other regulators around the world have said, "Well, we're going to just slow down and wait for these guys to figure things out, and then we'll see what we say after that." Once these two are done, hopefully they're done. The European ones, the deal's done. It's all set. They're just going to go through and do it. So, but yeah, so that's kind of where things are. That's fun stuff, right? So, but yeah, I don't know when Gaz's next video is. That he's like killing himself, like not sleeping all the time. As I'm sure all of you heard, he's leaving XNC because he can't stay up at 1 to 4 in the morning or whatever. Still go to work the next day. Yeah, unfortunately,
I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. I didn't know that either.
He can't do it. It's just it starts at 1 a.m. for him, and it's like
that's why I was amazing to me. He's been able to do it
until now.
Well, up to now, he's been able to like work from home. He just switched jobs, and they want him on prem. on Tuesday, and he's like,
okay.
if I get 1 hour of sleep and try to work, I just can't do it.
Yeah,
So,
that's for anybody. Yeah, no matter what you do.
It is what it is. So he's unfortunately gonna have to leave the show. So, but yeah. So hopefully he'll have a little bit more time for Sauce videos.
For
He's
Sauce
way
videos,
overworked
yeah.
the way it is. But
That's
anyway,
true. Hey, listen, real quick, guys. I know that we're doing outros. Idle Sloth just posted something. Seeking Alpha
more News God stuff.
Has reported Chinese game developers have said to have given positive feedback to Chinese China regulators in regards to Microsoft's planned acquisition.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yet another one,
really
right?
well.
Another one in there, in there. So now the other thing I wanted to say just quickly is January's over, and man, what a good month! Great developer direct. We had a whole bunch of great games, and this is a way to start a good year, right? So hopefully,
Hi-Fi Rush Game of the Year contender. It's 100%.
you got Dead Space, right?
More News God stuff.
Oh my god!
The director of Hi-Fi Rush says he would love to see it as a TV show. It was going to come out. It was going to be teased before COVID started. There's just so much news. Anyway,
I can't.
Get Netflix on it because they're anime kings right now.
Yeah, they say they have some of the best animation going. For sure.
Why not?
Yeah,
Give it to them. They got great studios for anime.
You know what I want to see happen for Special Nick? I'd love a Rocket League anime.
Oh,
that would
How
be
would that
cool.
work?
Cars, the TV show.
Put a character like for each vehicle, like they did for F-Zero. Make those characters.
Right? Cars cartoon, right? Not cartoon.
Yeah, I'd like that. I'd like that idea. And again, I'm not a producer, folks, but hopefully, hold on one second. Someone's calling me. It's Netflix. Bye, guys. I'm quitting podcasting. I'm going to be the producer of that game. Anyway, Kay Asante, sell your brand, brother. Talk about what you got going on with your channel. You hit 1,000 subscribers. You got to 1K. Yes. Great work that you put in each and every Saturday with your co-host who's not here. He had a lot of stuff going on in life. He'll be back next week. And of course, talking about Everborn Saga. Sell your brand, brother.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. It's always great to be here. And of course, Special Nick jumped in as well. Appreciate you for being here, good sir. And of course, Hargeet in the mag. It's always great to podcast with you folks, especially when there's so much news to talk about. So yeah, we'll as usual be having the Gaming Circle podcast. GCP will be this Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. I will not ask Special Nick because I feel bad enough with the times that he already has. Maybe one day when he has an opening in his schedule, I'll sneak in there and ask him again. But
I said January was the month.
I know, but unfortunately I was booked in January anyway, so I could do. And I know that January
so many shows in January.
And I watched all of them, believe it or not. All of them I watched. It's been great. This weekend on GCP, we're gonna have a whole bunch of people talking about it as well. And of course, it is good that Special Nick is not coming this weekend to GCP because we will have OBM in the spot to talk about it.
They love fighting.
Well, there you go. Goes against
there you
contractual obligations.
He was already hit with an anti-lawsuit for being here at the same time. I heard OBM is going to be paying for years. This is not right.
We're going to be convening the panel, and we're going to be talking 343. We're going to be talking Halo. All the news god stuff. Usually we go 3-4 stories. This week, today alone, I've compiled about 13.
It's crazy.
Could make a whole podcast.
I thought Asante's head was going to explode today. He's like more, and I'm like, I better tell him to calm down there.
And then at the last minute before the show starts, they tell me that there would be a maybe Titanfall 3 that's not going to be anymore. I'm like, mother.
Oh man,
yeah, it's disgusting.
It was fun. I enjoyed myself. Catch y'all on Saturday if you can. The Gaming Circle podcast, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for more of this news god craziness. Thank y'all so much.
Special Nick, sell your brand, brother. What you guys are doing over at Xbox Era are just godlike. Love the work that goes in. It is, you guys, you can tell the quality. You guys have a lot of fun. You and everyone that's on the weekly podcast. You get in, you're talking, you're laughing, literally from the minute that it starts. Talk about where people could subscribe to Xbox Era on YouTube, where they can check out the website, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Yes, thank you. Check out everything at xboxera.com. It's literally all there. I'm at special_Nick on Twitter. Before I go on, though, I need to ask something. Hargeet, now, you weren't forthcoming with Dead Space, but Resident Evil 4 is coming soon. So,
Jesus.
If you could see it in your heart.
I love it.
I'm saying it.
Australian games cost a lot of money. Like if you could
Preaching to
see
the choir over here in Canada,
deal
but
called Game Pass.
Resident Evil 4, unfortunately, is
Resident
not
Evil
gonna make
4
it
is a
Game Pass.
Sony marketed game.
Which,
It's
by the way,
100
have you seen the leaks on that of the side missions?
It looks amazing.
Oh
Looks
God,
amazing.
that looks
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
You have to wonder though. Do you think maybe like as part of, I don't know, I guess you could call it marketing. Do you think as part of marketing for Resident Evil 4, they'd put Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake on like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus?
No,
And
it's a Sony marketed. It's a Sony marketed game. Sony will not won't play to any of that with Xbox. Xbox can do what they want, but then they already have. I
But I'm
think
talking
Resident
about Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake.
Is it Resident Evil 2 or 3? Aren't one of them in? Oh no, they have them heavily discounted right now in the PlayStation Store. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's what I noticed. So if
Hey,
anybody
real
wants
quick,
to grab
the
them
Xbox
now.
International podcast says, "Hey, we got the Master Chief and Captain Jacob Keys together live on the air."
Hey, it's true. Sante, don't hide your face, okay? Because it's 100% true, and you know
Well,
it.
Nick, the next game is actually Hogwarts. We'll worry about Resident Evil when that comes out. That's like, isn't that March? Is that March? That's March, right?
Yeah,
Something
it's
like
Resident
that.
Evil is the
it's
first
coming
week.
soon.
Yeah, I
yeah.
just-
First week of March.
I just
but
wonder if
Hogwarts
they would-
in 9 days.
Do
9
that
days.
for like as like a
If you
marketing
buy
type
the,
thing.
it's 9 days if you buy the deluxe edition where you get to play.
Early.
I think
It's 72 hours early.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 days.
And by
early.
the way,
Yeah.
you know, those who know me know that I don't like to toot my own horn, right? But you
Not
know
at all.
who
No.
leaked first that PSVR 2 wasn't going to be backwards compatible with PSVR?
Oh,
Yes, you
yes.
did. Yep, you
Yes,
sure did.
Indeed.
And
Yes,
well,
nearly
Sony
2
can
years
suck
ago.
it because they
Boom.
just.
Two things.
Yes, sir.
Thing one, I forgot the one last thing I need to say. I will also be on Risk It for the Biscuits show on Friday.
Oh, nice,
So
dude.
please check me out there.
It's Friday,
Absolutely.
yes.
And thing two, we have 2 more super chats before we go.
Okay, so two more super chats came in. Let me see where they are. We have one
Xbox
over here from the
International?
Xbox International podcast. They were very generous to drop a $5 super chat. It says, "Hell yeah!" Let's see. Game of the year, Hi-Fi Rush, Keisante. I hear Everborn's knees knocking. Yeah, well, I mean, he doesn't have knees to knock because he lost.
And
I
the other
gave up
one-
my knees. And where's the other one?
The other ones, it's because it's member chats. They never
Okay.
populate
It
the same way.
says,
Yeah.
Hello, Boom. Could this mean that Sony is taking down these games from PlayStation Plus? And that was confirmed today. I didn't even know about this until Keisante. Sony is taking out
Yeah.
those PlayStation Plus.
I got the email.
Collection games.
Me too.
I don't. I
May
don't-
9th.
Yeah, I don't understand how that's possible, but they're doing it. He says, the Xbox International asks, is it because they're trying to make money on them, meaning that they're going to try to force people to buy these games?
No,
I think it's probably more.
assume
It's more. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I assume it's more to do with them aligning everything to the new Plus structure. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
they had it in the old. They had it at the lowest tier already, but I feel like they're trying to make that first level even less
Disappear.
meaningful.
Yeah.
And force you into the higher tiers because
I think they're
right
gonna
now
eventually disappear
PS
with
Plus
that.
gave you that collection, right? So
And
I
maybe
suspect
that-
they're probably
Yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to do away from that. Yeah, but
could just be
all those who have it now, go redeem them if you're going to continue to be a
Quick,
member.
add
and
them
to
you'll
your
still be able
library
to play
quickly.
them.
It
Yes.
may have just been
Yes.
contractual that they only had them for whatever 2 years. How long has it
Could
been?
be that
2.5 years,
too.
something like that?
Yeah, gone
Whatever.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they just had it for that long.
No, listen, at the end of the day, I want to thank the over 600 people that tuned in for Primetime Gaming. I want to thank you for subscribing to the channel. Again, we are on the hunt for 12K. The channel's run by myself and my wife. We do it solely. We do this 5 days a week, 5 different panels, a lot of different great opinions, and never using console war or hate to generate subs or clicks or likes or anything. We come out here. Every panel is packed with people that you know and love from this community. Every subject that we cover is well researched. Sometimes things happen live on the air and I read from my phone, which I freaking can't stand doing, but that's just the way the business works. And of course, I want to thank all the super chats that have come in. We have announced 2 big giveaways. The first one is Mrs. Boomstick and I are giving away 15 copies of Stalker 2 when it's
Oh,
released,
wow.
and we're buying those full price. We're doing it for the little guy, helping the little guy Our ideology behind
Can I have
this
one of those?
move is to see the families that were displaced because of the Russian war get the 70% from Microsoft for every sale. We're going to be buying every one of those copies, legit, full-on $70 pricing. And on this week's Xbox lunch break special, Pixel Bit G is a good friend of the program, had said if there is going to be a physical edition of Hi-Fi Rush, would you give one away? Well, we decided that we're going to give away 5 copies of the deluxe edition if it becomes physical. And even if it doesn't, we're still going to give away 5 digital deluxe edition copies live on the air of our way of paying it forward to the community, because we, it's just what we do here. And those we're able to do all of this thanks to super chats and channel membership. Otherwise, we can't do it. And I will close out the show, folks, with something that is important to me. Hopefully, one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.